Recording started. Everything started. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the first time that Everybody Celebrity is doing a morning podcast. So it's a podcast for breakfast.
Yeah. Oh, good morning. Do you have your coffee?
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't that early, really, though. Like, a 7 a.m. one would be super early.
Oh, yeah, that would be too early.
I don't know. I'm down for doing it whenever.
Yeah.
Even, I love doing them so much. If I got home from the bar at like 3 in the morning and I got a text from someone, I'm like, let's podcast. All right. I'll try and sober up.
See what happens.
So this is number 12. I never know what I'm going to name them until afterwards, and then I listen to them through, and then I kind of take the main point of whatever the hell it is we talked about. Neither of you filled out my Everybody Celebrity questionnaire.
We did. We didn't send it to you, though.
Oh, very nice.
I was actually thinking that on the way here, going, I bet you he wanted that information so he could prepare for this.
No, I didn't even think about that. I filled it out, and I kept it.
Nice.
It's just for us.
I didn't decide to share it with you at all, actually. It was not
the name of the game. It's guesswork day today, so.
Right. So I guess, Mandy, when you suggested the whole idea, then I should have taken it a step further and put in the instructions, you must send this back to me.
A little clarity, yeah.
I'll know it for next time. Not that this is any different from any other. I'm never prepared. I kind of like the non-preparedness in a way, because then I'm not inflating how smart I am. You know what I mean? It's like if we had some topic, I could research it and kind of whatever. But I like being a reflection of the listeners, and the listeners didn't research stuff before the podcast, right? They just tuned it on and whatever. So now that's how it's gonna go. I'm a listener. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? It's a good way to start. Where are you guys from? You guys from Calgary?
Not originally, no. I'm from the interior originally, by way of Victoria.
I was going to say, that sounds like BC, because the interior, I don't think anyone else would know that.
It's true, right? Yeah, I'm from the interior of BC. It's a little town called Fruitvale. It's between, if you've heard of Rossland or Nelson, so in the Kootenays. That would be sort of my starting point.
In the mountains?
In the mountains,
You're a mountain girl, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Definitely a mountain girl.
How long were you there for?
I was there until I was 18, and then I moved to Calgary for a couple of years. Then I went back and did sort of the hippie natural building thing for a little while, and then went up to Victoria and spent a few years there, went to school there, kind of expanded on my natural healing side, and then came back to Calgary again.
You could be a total hippie living in the mountains, right?
Totally. There's a huge part of me that is happy to do that, and I think that's what I'm going towards in some capacity.
Nice.
I need the balance, though. I need a little bit of both. So
yeah.
I can never just like full on be there and stay there. I'd have to like go be and then have like my kick somewhere else, like traveling or coming
half and half. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. What's the craziest wildlife thing that happened to you as a kid?
Craziest wildlife probably would be the bears that come into your.
There's always going to be bears.
It's bears. They're like you. They are pretty common, and they will come into your backyard. They will walk. I have one story actually. Me and my mom were sitting out having coffee on our front porch, and some guy was driving up the road, and he's like, "Hey, there's a bear in your garage." My parents have an open garage, and then the patio is like just right up above it. And so we're going, oh, okay, cool. So my mom's like, I better go grab my camera. So my mom runs in to get her camera, and right in front, so we have got the garage, and then there's stairs that come up to where we're sitting. And as my mom comes out with her camera, the bear is just meandering slowly up the stairs, and my mom's there just taking pictures, and I'm watching, and I'm like, we should probably not be out here just looking at a bear that's like literally 4 feet away from us. We should probably go inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really common to have bears, especially like depending on the season. They'll come down and berries and like fruit off of your trees and that kind of thing.
It makes sense.
Yeah, they're hungry.
Yeah.
They come down, say hi.
We have bears in Nova Scotia, but they're just little black bears.
Yeah.
They're like mountain bears.
Raw. Yeah.
Raw. So how about you, Mandy? Where are you from? Or Regan, where are you from?
I'm from BC as well.
Really?
So I'm from Terrace, BC, a really, really small little place in between Prince George and Prince Rupert.
That's not in the mountains?
It is in the mountains.
Oh.
It's in a valley, so it's surrounded by mountains. Lots of bears as well, too. So I moved out here in 2003, and I probably didn't talk to my parents for a good month because they moved me out here without me wanting to. But it worked out really well. I love Calgary. Like Mandy, I kind of like the mix of being able to be in the city and have these opportunities, but then also be able to go out to Canmore and be in the mountains and kind of have that split. So
Yeah, it's nice and close.
yeah.
So you were one of those kids that was like, I want to live here for the rest of my life.
Do you know what? I didn't really think outside because I was still in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same boyfriend forever. I had all my friends I'd known since I was 5. I didn't really think outside of Terrace.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really, I don't know, it just wasn't an option for me. And then we moved. And then I was like, oh my god.
But there's all
But it
those
worked out
graduation
so well.
movies. Like, how do you not even consider the fact that you might graduate someday?
Yes, I did consider that, but it wasn't. I would think I was so consumed in. I don't know. I was in grade 10, and I was just like, yeah, in a couple years I'll graduate to that. I don't know. I didn't know what I thought I was doing. Still don't know what I'm doing.
That's amazing. I was like ready to leave right away. I was like waiting for that day. All right, I'm out of here.
Yeah. No, it worked out really well because as soon as I moved to them, I was like, okay, like I get it. There's so many options. It was almost too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So no, it worked out really well.
Yeah, Calgary's great. I love that the mountains are so close.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like you can just be like, do you want to go to the mountains? Yeah. We could go today. We could go right now.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
do that podcast in the car on the way.
Yeah. They've done that. Lots of people do all kinds of weird stuff. There's one guy that he sits in his backyard and he just puts a recorder out, and he likes the fact that you can hear planes going overhead and lawnmowers in the background because he thinks it gives the feel of just hanging out in his backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You definitely don't need this big, gigantic, spider-looking setup. Although this is pretty small, too. So you guys both came from BC. You both end up in Calgary. Do you guys work together, or you just do, like, the same kind of thing?
We used to work
We
together.
did work
Yeah, that's
together.
how we met. Yeah, we
Yeah.
were working at the same clinic for a little while.
I worked there for
Yeah.
a year. I think you started just after me,
Yeah.
maybe.
When did you start?
I started in like May of 2013.
Okay, yeah. I started in September 2013.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so we had a bit of an overlap.
So you guys were working together, and then you both just decided to go do your own thing?
Pretty much.
I'm still working there.
You're still there.
I'm still there. I only work
Part-time.
there like one day a week kind of thing, so.
Yeah, so it's Prema Holistic
Prema Health now.
Living, but now it's taken over Prema Health.
Yeah.
A really great holistic center. It just amazing. Literally the first week I worked there for 3 days, and then were you there for the team building event? Not the sauna, but the what is it called?
The Sweat?
The Sweat Lodge?
I missed out on that one.
Okay, so I was like brand new working and didn't know anybody's names, only knew the guy who hired me and the lady who started the business and one other massage therapist that I just met when I started working. And we were like, in the morning, do the Sweat Lodge, where you go in and you're literally sitting in this big tent outside Calgary here, big like Aboriginal ceremonial thing. It was
Nice.
beautiful. It was awesome. You're literally in there. You're sweating. You're like sweating buckets. You're like crying because it's so emotional, like this big ceremonial thing. And then after, we're all hugging each other. I'm like, hi. I don't know your name. I guess I'll see you on Monday. And it was just like I was in the family. Like it was just like, yep, I'm there. And then I only worked there for a year, but even my boss was like, you haven't worked here for longer than that? I'm like, nope, just a year.
I find sometimes names are a barrier. Like if you can't remember someone's name somehow, there's a barrier there, and I don't like it. Like I feel like I can be free with a being just because I don't remember their name, because I have 50 names to remember. When you're new in a group, right? You can't
Yeah.
remember everybody's name. You're lucky if you remember one.
Yeah.
Or you're so busy trying to remember everybody's, you don't remember any.
Oh, I'm bad with names.
Oh, absolutely.
Really, really bad.
Just call everybody buddy.
Buddy, darling.
I just make up
Sweetie.
names. Just works out. I
Hey,
think-
you.
Yeah.
I call everybody brother, except for it doesn't really work with girls.
Yeah. Hey, bro, what's up?
Yeah. The sister just sounds weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten used to it yet. I don't know what I call girls.
Yeah.
Guys. Hey guys, what's up?
Hey guys.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. That's definitely an interesting first day of work or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like right in there. Just, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot, so.
Yeah.
What kind of ceremony was it exactly? What did it
It was
entail?
a sweat lodge,
Yeah.
so
I've never done a sweat lodge.
it's so what they do is the people who put it on, they make this sweat lodge, so it's like this big dome, and there's only one little air. It's very low to the ground with a big pit in the middle where they heat up these rocks for like hours and hours, and they put them in, and then they throw water on it constantly, so it steams. But they're drumming while they're drumming and doing their like chanting and stuff while you're in there. So you're all sitting there, and you can, and the women, there's certain times, like there's certain rules that you have to be fully, like you can't show any like legs or skin. And then the people putting it on are usually fasting during that day, so they're going through a fasting period.
Is that healthy for someone to fast and be in like a sweat lodge?
Honestly, I think their mind going into it is, I mean, it's something that they've been doing forever, and it's more of a positive experience. I think if someone's just like trying to like go in a sauna and fast because they want to lose weight, I don't think that's a good idea. But for them, it's this whole mental, spiritual aspect.
It's pushing yourself beyond limits. It's
It
not
totally
supposed
is.
to be healthy for
No.
you,
And
right?
I think part of it too being that hopefully they don't have something like diabetes or otherwise that they have to concern themselves with. And there is a lot of research around like calorie restriction and what happens to your body then with the energy that you normally use for digestion too, and how that can take you to different spiritual levels. So.
Well, I also think with the Aboriginal people, they are generally hunter-gatherer types, like their DNA is that. I mean, we all essentially are, but them specifically. And so their bodies might adapt to that famine kind of stage because of how they were brought up.
Right.
So I think it's really interesting. Although it is not healthy if you go and like drink a bunch of beer and eat a bunch of Twinkies after your fast. You have to kind of ease your way in there. But yeah, there are rules. Like if you're pregnant or if you're children or whatever, or if you have some health element, then you don't have to do it. So.
Yeah, pushing yourself, because you guys know the Iceman, right? Wim Hof?
Oh my gosh, I just watched that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I'm sure if I'm sure it's not healthy to jump into freezing cold water, but it's pushing your limits, and he discovered something really crazy because of it.
Exactly. I love it when humans can do that. You know, like let's test the limits, let's see where we can go with it. And then the fact that he's getting science to back him up too by testing all the different things that he's doing, and God, hiking up a mountain in like your shorts and your bare feet, like that blows my mind.
Oh, doesn't he have boots? I think he has boots.
Does he have boots? Okay,
yeah.
so it's
boots
just
and
the
shorts.
training where they're walking around in bare feet then.
Yeah.
I have not seen this, but it seems very interesting.
It is incredible.
It's good. I was at the bar and someone called bullshit because I was talking about it. And I'm like, dude, there's scientists there that want to debunk them. Like, you can check it out. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you, but you can, research it and do some stuff. And he's like, oh, there's numbers and facts. Okay.
Yeah, it's suddenly like, oh, okay, we'll jump on board. Yeah, definitely. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, he does this breathing technique and basically increases his core body temperature from the inside out. And so they've done like tests on him. So he'll be in like freezing cold weather, hiking to the top of the mountain, like snowy conditions, and his core body temperature will remain the same.
Weird.
They buried him in ice, and his core temperature didn't drop for like 2 hours.
Yeah, they literally like tested him in a tank with ice, with electrodes and everything on him, and monitored the entire
How did
thing.
he get to the point to know that he could do that?
That's a great question. I can't remember.
He always, since like 17, was really into the cold, just something in his head. And then his wife died, and
really traumatic experience.
As a coping mechanism, he got more and more into it and was pushing himself more and more, and he says that the cold is his only teacher. And
interesting.
I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knew there was health benefits to cold showers, but he just took it to like
There is. I did one this morning because I ate some sugar before I went to bed and I wasn't feeling so good.
So what does the cold shower do for you?
Well, the cold, so hot and cold contrast, it like speeds up your lymph system, which is essentially your immune system. So it kind of gets it pumping. It kind of just like gets your cells kind of woken up a little bit. That's why there's like hot and cold pools, like in spas and stuff, especially in like the European countries and stuff, where they do like hot and cold contrast. And then you do like depotement, which is like pretty much just like
tapping on the
like
skin.
tapping on your skin and stuff and getting, yeah. So if you ever feel like a cold coming on, or if you're hungover, like hot and cold contrast.
So you just turn the tap, that's it? That's
yeah, like you do it cold for a little bit, and you do like lots of breathing, and you do the depotement, and then you turn it hot and then cold.
And that this is all, I just gotta kind of
Yep.
fist my own arm?
And then like towards the heart, get the lymph moving around.
Really?
Yeah.
See, this is what I want to know from you guys.
Yeah,
all this weirdo stuff.
Yeah.
So
It definitely works.
I've been taking cold showers for 2.5 weeks and running in my shirt, or running shirtless
What?
outside for the same amount of time, and yeah, it's intense. It's really intense. The running's funny because I pass all kinds of people that are like full winter gear, and I'm out in shorts, and that's it.
Totally.
And it doesn't really bother you. Like maybe the first 10 seconds, but then you just run fast. And then you warm up, and my fingers is the only things that kind of get a little cold. Yeah, and I'm out for like 5 kilometers or something.
Have you always been okay with cool temperatures?
No, hell no.
Okay, so this is my question, because I'm freezing cold on the warmest of days. So when I saw the Iceman thing, I'm like, I think this might be an experiment waiting to happen kind of thing. So I'm curious if you, just over a period of like 2 weeks, you were able to like sort of transition to running and being in cold weather.
I'm not so sure how long I'll be able to keep up the running, because it's going to get cold.
It's going to get cold here.
I would love to run in a blizzard with no shirt. I think that would be amazing, but I'm not, I won't be terribly disappointed in myself if I don't.
Yeah.
And as far as the cold showers, the first week was kind of, jump in the water, freeze, and you can't help but do the breathing technique because it's, that's what the cold just makes you do that. So I guess that's what he means by the cold is his teacher. Like you just figure out how to survive within this. So yeah, it was almost like an Israeli shower where it was like jump in the shower and then get wet and then like soap up and lather up and then get back in the water and rinse off kind of deal. But now I just hang out in the water like it was cold, hot water, like where you just stand under. I still haven't got to the point where I got my face under and I'm just enjoying the shit out of this cold water.
Yeah.
And I have taken one warm shower. There was just one day where I was like, no. But I wasn't going to break down and do hot, so I just put a little bit of... But it wasn't warm. Anybody else would get in and be like, that's fucking freezing.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like I have more of a tolerance for the cold. Like, I go outside in my shirt, and I'm not as afraid of it as I used to be.
Yeah.
Have you practiced any, what is it called?
Pranayama?
Yeah,
like the breath techniques?
breathing?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Prana, Prana, and Yama, Yama.
Okay.
Pranayama. It's yoga. That's the breathwork yoga. Pranayama.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it like helps you kind of like heat up from.
Yeah, you can do like breath of fire. Or,
I think that might be something like he might be utilizing something like that for sure.
Definitely.
I've read some and it says different yoga and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't, but have you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like warming up for
with
sure.
With yoga and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of like restrict the back of your throat and breathe out kind of like
Ujjayi breath.
Yeah. And it heats you up from the inside, which is good if you're always cold and have some thyroid stuff going on.
Yeah, because then you're stimulating that area. Yeah, the one that I like with breath of fire, you imagine as though there's a candle or like a flame under your nose and you're blowing out, so you're really only concentrating on the exhale. And what you do is you bring your belly button in as you exhale, so it's like... And then you just let the inhale happen naturally. And you do that repetitively, and it actually really creates quite a bit of heat in your body to do so. It can be really cleansing. And I like the idea, too, that you're kind of pumping in your abdomen as well. So, again, you're getting into lymph. You've got a lot of lymph tissue in and around your digestion and that sort of thing, too. So you're moving your lymph. You're literally, like, heating up. Like, I can actually warm up when I'm doing that breath. I am generally a freezing cold person, so it's exciting to do that.
I was going to say, you should just breathe like that all the time.
I know. What's going on? Oh, this is my natural breath.
Sound like a crazy person, like in the back, like in the lineup, and you're like...
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? What's going on? It's okay, I'm just warming up. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
sitting and be like,
Just using some ancient yoga technique to warm my body. It's all good. Don't worry.
oh, good. I thought you were doing Kegels in the lineup. Yeah.
No, that's your secret.
Yeah, I know.
That's your
You're just going to concentrate. Either you're doing Kegels or you have gas.
That's pretty hilarious. I went to Earth Gems over the weekend downtown, and I'm a very open to life kind of person, but I like to call bullshit on things. It's one of my favorite. That's why I try everything, and I always want to figure out the trick, or if it's just crap or a placebo. Or I generally believe the general population are a bunch of dummies, and so I just want to try everything out for myself. And so I'm at Earth Gems, and I got some joint pains because I'm old and whatever, and I'm stuck at this computer doing tech work all the time and reaching out. No, it's just horrible. So I got this.
Oh.
It's a magnetic something or other. I don't know. It's supposed to help.
Yeah.
And I just lumped it in with the Q rays and all those stupid bracelets that old people wear, and it's like, you're a dummy. And then they show the videos of how it aligns, and I'm like, no, that's total crap. But I feel better.
You notice a difference.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think there's something to say about using. I mean, I'm not an expert in this at all, but using actual stones that have like a magnetic field instead of just like that Q-ray bracelet that you can buy at like Walmart or something. But there's magnetic beds that you can lay on.
Really?
Yeah,
There's
they're called biomats. And they're really cool. So there's magnetic ones, and then there's biomats, and you can you put them on your bed, or they make you like grounded.
Really?
Yes. And
do you know anyone that's tried it?
Yeah, I've tried one. I've tried a biomat. Yeah.
For how long?
For like 30 minutes.
Oh, not like a couple days or anything?
No.
Did you notice a difference?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I almost did immediately, which was, I was like, don't be a dummy.
Ah!
You know, like the whole time, just like, it's not doing anything. You just put it on. It's rocks around your wrist. Like, I'm trying to like call myself out on it, but then, a couple hours later, my joints weren't hurting. I'm like, this is stupid, and I don't want it to be a placebo effect. So I'm very much wanting to call it out, but I can't do it.
So far,
I think David Wolf is kind of the one who talks about like the vibrancy and the frequency of like food and things like that.
Yeah.
But the way that I think about it is like there's like ions and magnetic field in there, and there also is in the earth around you, and there also is internally. So if there's frequencies making those ions change and move and not work balanced, then you may feel off, you may have inflammation, all of these things. So if you have something that helps balance that, then it may balance your internal.
Yeah.
Right? So that's like the total non-science way of explaining it, but that's how I think of it in my head. Yeah. That's also why I think like Wi-Fi and like weird things are messing up with my chi.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, but I mean, the biomat I think would have more of a profound effect because you're literally laying,
sleeping in it,
on it, right?
Yeah. I have a contradictory experience of it. I hated my friend of mine had the magnetic mattress, so I borrowed it to try out, and I could not sleep. I had the worst sleep I've ever had. I literally, as soon as I laid down, would feel a little bit nauseous, and so I did not like it at all. At that time I hadn't done any research. I was just like, let's try something new and see what happens. And I went, absolutely not. So it's kind of interesting to hear
My
like
dad had
your
a bad
experience
with a bracelet. He got like one of those little bracelets with like a work function or something. And I think I remember him now that I hear your story. He put it on and he was just like, ugh. Like he instantly was just like, ugh, I don't know what that's doing. Like, get it off me. Yeah. So interesting.
And then I've heard the same thing with sort of the grounding mats that people have used as well. This idea that you can ground in and sort of feel more grounded while you're sleeping. It's like a mesh type of material that you put on your bed, and then you literally like put it into the ground either through your window or that sort of thing. And I've talked to many people that are like sensitive to energy, and they find that they like tap into more energy that way versus grounding. Like they literally feel as though they're tapping into the energy of people, emotions, chemicals, everything that's going into the earth essentially. So it has the exact opposite effect as well. So
I wonder if it's kind of individualized. Like
I would think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, that's a bigger conversation too, right? Like,
Yeah, for
every
sure.
perception, what's your
Individualized.
idea, what's it going to be, what are you open to or not?
I think the reason that I finally became open to the whole idea is that they're doing a lot of studies on the rocks that are resonating at these like wonder sites, like Stonehenge and the pyramids and stuff, and they all operate on the same frequency, and so that kind of got me to buy into the fact that maybe they do resonate something, and so maybe there is something to it. So that's, I guess, that little bit of science kind of gave me the opportunity to kind of dive into the hippie world a bit.
Come on over.
I love it.
Now I'm just more weird. Like, my friends are like, so let me get this straight. In the past month, you started wearing rocks, taking cold showers, and running with your shirt off. Like,
Right.
yes, that is what I'm doing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, we don't
Love
judge
that.
you.
Yeah, I know. It's
I love
nice
that
to...
about you. The weirder you are, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Particularly if it's like homegrown, like you're inquiring about something, you discover something, and then it becomes true for you.
Yeah.
It'd be different if you were just like, yes, this is what I do, and there's no research, no reasoning, just
Yeah.
like, this is it, I'm committed to it. So
Right.
that's my thought process. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it more and more. I think I said something on the last podcast about it being like, even if you don't believe in evolution, you have to believe in adaptation. And the adaptations or evolutions come from a freak, like a weird thing within the species. And so the weirdos are really what's advancing human knowledge and the whole experience for everybody, because the more people do weird things, the less weird it becomes.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely.
weird people are the future, I guess.
Oh, I love it. Done and done.
Exactly.
What other weird stuff do you guys... Because I had Vince on the first podcast, and we talked about when I did DMT with over at his house, and we had like burning cedar or something like that, and just kind of put it all around me to cleanse my energy and stuff like that. And to me, that's weird. But I don't judge, right? But what weird things do you guys got going on that you can kind of hook us up with?
Oh, man.
What weird thing do you do? Did you bring... If you had brought your sheet,
Yeah.
you would know what kind of weird
Well, I
thing you
can
did.
speak from the answer that I put on mine,
Yeah.
and
Go ahead.
it's.
I'll
I
jump
was
in
just
after.
thinking, because there's a bunch of weird things that I do, but I think that if I was thinking, which I don't think is weird, but I am also known as the lady with the bone broth, and I bring it everywhere with me. And sauerkraut. So, like, if I'm going to a friend's barbecue, I'll always have my jar of bone broth, and I'll always put it in their fridge, and then they'll open their fridge, and they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's mine," and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's Regan's broth." So that's I guess that's my weird right now.
Why do you do it?
That'll change. Because over the last year, I have been healing myself, digestive and autoimmune issues, and I love it. I make it every week. My boyfriend calls it my witch's cauldron, because they'll have like a boiling thing with like a chicken leg sticking out, or chicken foot, which is also very weird, but it's amazing. Bone broth helps your bones, it helps your joints, there's collagen, it's amazing.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of scientific evidence to
There
back
is.
all that up.
There totally is.
So yeah, it's weird, but it's not weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd either go to someone's birthday or go to a vacation and have a stomachache all day eating all this food that I'm not used to, or I could just bring my fermented sauerkraut and my bone broth and enjoy it and know that I'll not be the crazy lady in the corner with the tummy ache laying down. I'm just like...
Which weird do you want?
You're the crazy lady that's chugging the bone broth.
Exactly. And everyone's just like, that's so weird. I'm like, do you eat soup? Mm-hmm. Do you have stock in your soup? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the same thing, except mine is amazing because I make it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no MSG and added crap in it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I guess temporarily, that's my weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Until other people start doing it.
Yeah. I was going to
Well,
say,
that's
I'm,
my
I'm not weird
movement.
already,
I'm
so.
Get the bone broth in really around like kids and babies and first foods and things like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note on the bone broth as well. I had a cavity a couple years ago and started reading about it, and it's one way that you can help remineralize your teeth as well.
Mm-hmm.
Remineralize your teeth and also help heal your gut. So yeah, it's got some great opportunities, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bones, bone marrow, collagen, everything. It helps everything.
Teeth are really weird because I'm a grinder, right? Like I grind my teeth really bad, and they've gotten smaller in a lot of areas, but there's still enamel on those places. So why does my enamel grow back when I rub it off with my own teeth, but if you have a cavity and you drill out the cavity or whatever, the enamel doesn't grow back? Like what the hell is enamel's problem?
That's a great question. I'd like to know as well.
I have no idea.
Let's find out.
Yeah, I like it.
This is pretty cool. I get to just do whatever I want on here. What am I searching for?
Enamel.
Oh, this is not gonna go well. Enamel regeneration.
There we go.
Oh, they've got research. Making a bioengineered tooth. Oh, that's just way too interesting. Yes, adults may grow new teeth in the future.
Why do we want to grow new teeth?
Oh, we can't hear it with the headphones. YouTube's gonna pull me anyway if I put this up. Whatever. So yeah, and we can grow new teeth in the future here soon enough, I guess.
There are some really cool new... I follow a different podcast about kind of holistic health, and there are some dentists and hygienists using minerals as therapy, like high-dose, high-mineral therapy, to get your body to heal the cavities themselves without having to do the extractions and stuff too. You have to... so they talk about like mouth health, the bioavailability of the bacteria, and then they link it to your gut. So there's lots of communication between the mouth and the gut.
I've heard that.
So they talk about kind of balancing that, which is really cool.
Which would still be connected to your digestive as well, right? Totally. Like the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, people with like the holistic dentists think that all disease start in the mouth, and then holistic nutritionists like myself think all disease start in the gut, but there's a huge correlation between the mouth and the gut and the brain and the gut. So it's kind of just like they're considered all the same, the bacteria and stuff.
Yeah, there's still so much we don't know.
I know. It's getting like learned every day.
Yeah. It's too much for the average person to keep up on. I guess that's why it's good to have podcasts, because then you can just research it all. There's podcasts for everything.
Honestly, I'm addicted to them now that I work from home. Like, I literally listen to podcasts every day, and it's like I'm going to school every day because there's these amazing resources and these people coming out, and it's them just putting a bunch of free information, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you trust them, so if they do come out with a book or whatever later, then you're like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. I trust you. I know it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and with a podcast, if you find like a host or whatever that you trust, and you trust that he's going to grill the guests or do his research on anything that he says, like that's, or she says, then that's great. Somebody just won the podcast of the year, and it was a girl that does...
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, but I can't remember the name.
I think it was just like Ask Jane or something like that.
Yeah, I heard about it.
It's a health one anyway. I got on there. She's only been doing it for a year too. Podcast awards, comedy to do.
I don't know what her thing was. What she podcast about? I'm not sure.
Of course, I can't find it fast. That's why I need a producer now. So you get the producer to kind of sit over there, and they do all this switching between scenes and stuff, so I don't have to pay attention to it. And then you can get them like, look that up so that we can keep talking for us.
Pull up some resources.
You can outsource too.
How so?
Outsource someone in like somewhere in the Philippines and stuff too, where they do the typing for the transcripts. So like, let's say you're like, oh, we're gonna link to that. Like, let's say there's like a book or something or whatever, the Iceman or something you want to link to. Then you would say you would outsource someone in a different country or whatever, and they would type out the script of your podcast, and then they would link to that, so they would be finding those resources.
No way.
Yeah, so usually it's the person that edits it for you if you're editing, or you just outsource. With my opinion though, like if I want to go back into looking at the transcript, I don't want to read the entire transcript of what they said.
Yeah.
It's mainly like the main points, like the bulletproof points.
I do that anyway with the hashtags. So
Yeah.
after a podcast is going up, I sit there and I listen to it and I just hashtag all the different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bit much because we're all over, because there's no preparation or main topic and whatever, and it's just all these different places. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot of hashtags.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you could even hire somebody from like Fiverr or something to come and like be virtually like your virtual production assistant or something.
Oh, I could find someone if I wanted to pay them.
That's interesting.
Or
you can do
film schools.
See, I would do trades.
Yeah.
I would get
Do
a
some
student.
Yeah.
You just get a student and just be like, this will look good on your resume.
Yeah.
You come in for free and you can tinker around on my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I give credit to everything.
Yeah,
I get
totally.
my friend is sending out like $300 worth of lighting gear because I just upgraded to this and I need it. And he's like, I don't use it. Just pay me the shipping and I'll send it out to you. And
Nice.
and he's always got little side businesses going. I'm like, dude, you're a sponsor now. Like, what business do you want me to promote?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. I don't know. Before when I did a show, it was like we had 12 studio members and 6 crew for out in the field and all kinds of actors and writers and cameramen and everything. That was so much fun. Like, it was ridiculously fun. It's still fun by myself, but it's getting a little too big for me to control.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's the best problem ever.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It evolves.
Yeah.
I was looking up the whole rock resonance thing, and because I was wondering about diamonds, and I didn't know if they had any health benefits or whatever, and they do resonate or something, but I couldn't find anything. But what I did find is that this guy who figured out the Mayan secret for moving large stones, he's this old dude that died of cancer. He's dead now. He never told anyone how he did it.
Really?
It's the Coral Castle.
I've read about that, but he just had a big, I thought they pulled the Coral Castle apart, like that big huge door that hinges at the Coral Castle.
I don't know, and this is the only picture I've ever seen of it here.
Okay, so what I read about it was that he actually just had like a really big hinge in it. And it was like a ball bearing hinge.
But it's not just a one door.
No?
No, it's all of this here.
Yeah, I guess so, because he moved some big stuff, eh?
Yeah, really big stuff, and he had like...
Was it like the fulcrum technology, or was it...
Well, some kids say that, because he did it all at night.
Yeah.
Some people say they heard him singing. And some kids...
Sound theory?
Yeah, and some kids said that they saw him moving giant boulders with ice cream cones. But obviously they weren't ice cream cones, they were just...
brilliant, I love that stuff.
And, yeah, because I was just reading this article, and it said something about... he said he saw beads of light on everything. Let's see. And that's the magnetic current or something. It's very crazy. Anyway, there's this other guy, and he actually built like a big giant thing using it wasn't using energy. He just used like leverage, basically. He moves barns by himself.
Nice.
This is the big thing at the end that he does. He puts this big giant thing up.
Nice. Yeah.
He's just one dude.
Yeah, there's ways to do it. I think that's the thing. Every time I've been to like ruins or ancient sort of cities, you see these big things, and in your mind, you're like, the only thing that we could lift this with is big machinery, and at the time, it never existed. So, yeah.
How did people?
Interesting.
How were people so smart?
That's a really great question. Well, and even think about it, like in South America, the ruins, the like in what's the city I'm thinking of? It's one of the main cities that they study, and they basically have built the city on these blocks that have withstood earthquakes. So there's this technology that they have from way, way back that is more sturdy than a lot of the technology.
Anti-earthquake technology back then.
Exactly.
I always wondered how they were so smart back then, and now I'm just wondering, how are we so stupid?
I think because we, I mean, I don't know. I think it's because we also try to use, okay, I'll use us driving here, for example.
Oh, technology. That's my answer.
Technology.
We depend too much on technology
Because
and our assumption of
without actually sitting and like, you know, I looked it up on Google Maps and I thought it was supposed to be this way, started driving, and then we realized we were in the wrong directions. But we're like, oh, both of our GPSs aren't working, when you could actually just be like, okay, so where am I? Are we facing, like, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So I don't know, maybe we rely on the technology too much. But then again, it's also amazing that we have it too. So
I think people probably could do all these things, but it takes so long and so much dedication, and the majority of people aren't down with it, and that's why technology started to come about, because like, I'm not gonna sit down and meditate for 30 years so that I can be able to telepathically communicate. I'm just gonna build an iPhone, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you see people that do really insane things, and it's just because they put time into training themselves. There's this one girl that can sing 2 different things at once, and she, like, 2 parallel tracks, and she can even, like, go up and down with one while holding the other, and she just trained herself to do that. And
that's incredible.
It's all this stuff's so incredible, and humans just forgot about their own power and started building stuff, building tools.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Revolution.
I think that's it. We're constantly like looking for easier ways to do things, and then we forget about things. I had this conversation. My grandfather is 98 years old, and I just had a conversation with him 2 weeks ago about memory. He was a teacher, and so he still remembers his students and where they sat when he taught like 50, 60 years ago. Like if you were to say a name, he'd be like, oh, I remember that person. I taught them math in grade 3, and they sat, you know, third desk in, 2 back, and this is her sister, and this is her brother, and this is what I was. How do you remember these things? Like, I can barely remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, kind of thing. And he said, that's exactly it. Like, I use my brain. And so he's been challenging me. He's like, I want you to remember things. Like,
caring might also have something to do with it.
Yeah, that might be a big part of it, too, right? I don't care what I had for breakfast.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know it was good.
And not all teachers care about all their students.
Yeah.
No, and we multitask now. So it's not like we have to get here and this is what we're doing. It's like, okay, well, I could send an email. I could also be talking on someone on the phone and looking up something on Facebook pretty much all at the same time. And then you don't really remember all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of info.
Yeah.
So they're going to cure aging here soon. It's just a genetic disorder. Easy. They're already curing all kinds of genetic disorders. Why wouldn't they be able to cure aging? It's natural. But it seems like all these things that they do with technology, humans could do on their own. It's almost like you can achieve the same enlightenment of getting high on drugs if you just meditate and do spiritual things like that, right? But one takes a lot longer and one is very quick.
Yeah.
I wonder how we would reverse our own aging or stop our own aging. Like, where would you even start with that?
Diet? That's my first answer.
Yeah.
Definitely with diet. Like, well, there's so much research around sugar and the things that it does to our body right there. Candida, overgrowth. There's, it's incredible. Cell death and regeneration and the type of food and nutrients that we're taking in as well, like the building blocks. Like they say that people can be like, basically, what is it saying? I don't know if you know it. It's, you can be like overfed, but like still hungry for things, like undernourished and overfed. Essentially, you can be malnourished.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah.
Really, really big.
Like if you ate fries, like big plates of fries, you're putting food in.
I think a lot of people don't realize that you can be long and lean and skinny and eat a really crappy diet, or you can be very large and eat a crappy diet and still be completely malnourished. Where people think, what do you mean? That person eats a ton of food, and it's the quality of food. I think the food now too is speeding up our aging in the wrong ways,
Mhm.
like our joints and our brains are deteriorating
And cancer.
and everything like that, and our cells.
Diabetes, yeah.
Not so much, but people think more external, our wrinkles and our whatever else, and
Mhm.
everything's, you know, they're always like, oh, everything sags when you get older and you just get wrinkles. And I think people are one extreme to the next. They're like eating a really crappy diet or low fat and lots of sugar, kind of like fast food or packaged food,
Mhm.
but then they're putting all this like anti-wrinkle cream and
Mhm.
stuff on, and it's like, okay guys, like you just
It's trying to deal with the down, what's happening right at the front, and without addressing the real problems. Like
Mhm.
I find that's a lot with depression. They're like, oh, you're depressed, here's some pills. And it's
Mhm.
like, you can't put a Band-Aid over a big giant wound. You gotta address it, right?
See where it started.
Yeah, you gotta go back and find the root cause of
Yeah.
what's going on. And
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have time for that these days, and time for anything, right?
No. Well, and even like movement too. When I think of anti-aging, a lot of times people are talking about their bodies being sore. And one aspect is that we've kind of beat ourselves up, and the other is that we're really sedentary. We spend a lot of time sitting at desks all day long.
Mhm.
Like it's incredible. I went traveling recently, and so I was sitting like in a plane. I did like an 8-hour
Hmm.
stint of sitting, and I was like, oh God, I feel so old. And it kind of hit me in that moment of like, oh, I do a lot of movement, and normally I feel fantastic and
Mhm.
I'm feeling great. I couldn't imagine if I sat like this day in and day out, what that would do to my body. Like it gave me an experience of it, going
Yeah.
like, we definitely need to have a different kind of lifestyle physically if we want to be able to keep our mobility moving, you know, into our 80s or 90s or beyond if we're wanting to
Yeah.
keep aging, right? So
definitely
yeah.
functional
Stretching is really important.
Yeah.
I've realized in my old age, like now I stretch in the mornings and at night and before I go running and stuff, and yeah, just to keep that movement.
Just functional movement.
Yeah.
There's a podcast I listen to called the Liberated Body Podcast, and she interviews just a bunch of experts about the body.
Yeah.
And one guy was talking about how he puts all of his athletes, he trains athletes through crawling. And he's like, we start off crawling. And if you look at a baby, they know how to plank and they know how to crawl and they
Mhm.
move and everything like that. And he's like, that's the best way to get your motor skills working so that when you go into life, your body moves mechanically and functionally. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So I'm going to like try crawling.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
That's actually
there's a
interesting.
girl who her parents are both rock climbers, and so that she got into rock climbing, and she kills everybody now because she kept that child flexibility and maybe even improved upon it. So she can get things that nobody else can get because she still has that flexibility, and she didn't let it rust up. I let it rust up.
Yeah, definitely.
And crawling can be hard too. I remember doing a boot camp a couple years ago, and they got us to do like crawling
It is
and that kind of thing.
difficult.
And it's a movement that your body is not used to doing anymore. It's really uncomfortable to do. Actually,
very weird.
very uncomfortable.
It's really weird.
I don't think it's supernatural though. I mean, if you
No.
did, we'd have padding on our knees, right?
Yeah.
Same way you have padding on your feet. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a stepping stone to stepping.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And psychologically too. So they say if babies haven't done, like some babies will actually bypass the step of like crawling and go to standing and walking, and that actually shifts how they evolve and how they think as well.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, we're seeing a big change in kids' development and structural stuff too already. If they are in the jolly jumper a lot. So you put your baby in the jolly jumper and they're on their tiptoes. And then they forget, they don't learn the full rocking motion. So then you see a lot of kids on their tiptoes.
Oh.
And it'll actually change their skeletal structure. So it's really interesting. I just learned that I just did a pelvic floor core class on the weekend, and they were talking about the development of kids and how it could kind of evolve into adults and old injuries and stuff.
I'm about to have a kid, and the wife comes home with all these different things, and I'm just in my head like, they never had this crap before, and people have been having babies for a long time. Like, do we really
You can keep it
need
simple.
all this stuff?
Yeah,
Like,
you can keep it simple. Definitely.
just giant mechanisms that you put the baby into. I don't know.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, at one point, it is good too, because for safety, you know that your baby's right there and it's locked in, and you can go and clean the floor or whatever you have to do. But I mean, they like being upright. So if they're upright all the time, and then you go and they're used to being in that jolly jumper and really comfortable and can see everything, and then you go and put them on their tummy and they're like ah! And super mad, and then you put them back in the jolly jumper, but all you're doing is teaching them to be on their tiptoes.
I have a real problem with that word lately, comfortable. I think we're really hurting ourselves. Everything has to be comfortable. People think that the point in life is to be happy and nice and comfortable and safe, and you're not growing at that point. You're just hiding away from growth. People don't want to feel uncomfortable. They don't want to be afraid of things, and
let's avoid it at all costs.
It's really weird.
And you usually avoid, or I call it like actively procrastinate. So you like go and do everything else instead of doing that one thing that you know is like terrifying, but you know that it's gonna like help you step into the next whatever.
Take to the next level. Exactly. Yeah.
I have a few things like that.
I know. I have some on my list too.
But yeah, I don't want to be comfortable anymore. I was someone was asking me if I wanted a boy or a girl, and I said I want a girl, and they said, well, it's a lot easier to have a boy and blah blah blah. I said, I'm just not really down with easy these days. Like, I don't. If someone says it's really easy, then I don't want to do it. If someone says it's hard, you can't do it, it's going to be a challenge. I'm like, all right, let's freaking do this.
I'm ready for it. Yeah.
That and girls wield way more power than boys. Like, yeah, it might be easier to raise a boy, but if you raise a girl right, she's got all the power.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really dislike that when people are like, oh, well, girls are harder and guys are easier, and I'm just like, how do you know? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, girls are the gatekeepers. That's really what it comes down to, is girls are the gatekeepers and guys are the sluts. And that's why, and nobody wants their daughter to be a slut, so it's hard to, but I mean, I wouldn't even care if my daughter was a slut. If that's her thing, fuck, whatever.
It depends on your definition of slut.
Yeah, I know, that's what I mean. I have a problem with the words coming out of my mouth as they're coming out of my mouth. Like,
absolutely. It's the empowerment piece, and I think if you care... Oh, there's so many layers to this right now popping into my head, Like, and there's the thing around consent right now, too, right? So it's like, boys are becoming more and more aware of, like, the emotional implication. Like, I saw a movement of young men on social media that were, like, supporting women, one, in their periods, and two, in that they wanted to keep their virginity. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. That you see different... It goes back to what we were talking before about the guy, like, we need people of the extremes to sort of give us this idea, one way or the other. And so, like, young men who have sex with women or who get their girlfriends pregnant when they're 16, stepping up and saying, all right, well, I'm going to do the best that I can in this moment. And it's still, I don't know. I'm getting lost in my own thoughts because there's just so many coming right now.
Yeah, so they say it's easier to raise a boy because you don't have to give a shit. If your boy gets a girl pregnant and fucks off and doesn't affect your lives at all, right? But that's still not cool. Like, you should raise your kid to not be a dick. Like,
exactly.
So it's not really easier. It's just easier to ignore the fact that you've raised a dick.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. So maybe it is actually harder to raise a boy if you want to actually do it the right way.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
No, I'm not gonna.
It's gonna be a surprise.
Why bother ruining it? I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of it's so much hype, like the ultrasounds and stuff. I'm like, it's just a picture of the kid that's gonna be here in 6 months, like, and it's a bad picture. So, but I mean, the last one was pretty cool because I saw its arms and legs moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
But the first one, I was just like, what am I even looking at? Like, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
It's nice though, whenever we start getting stressed out about, are we eating right or doing this right or that right, as soon as we start to feel any stress, we just say, crackheads have babies.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you don't really need all this stress. Like, the stress is probably the worst thing you can have. So if you can just have anything to diffuse the stress, like, crackheads have babies, so I'll be fine.
Do you know what? Our bodies know how to adapt, and like, there even is that show which I think is so crazy, the one that I didn't know I was pregnant.
Oh, that show is incredible.
Where people literally didn't know they were pregnant, and it just went into labor, and they were like, they were on no prenatals or anything. Yeah. Honestly, I could talk about this subject for days. This is totally my thing, but there are, honestly, you just have to think of, like, Whole Foods. And you don't even have to take a prenatal. You just take specific doses of vitamins and minerals to help, and your body will do its thing. And stress is a major thing, so anything you can do to kind of...
I think listening to intuition is a big one, and I think that's something that's been lost as well, especially with pregnant. I work with pregnant women as well, and intuitively, the intuition starts like pushing through the logic, I think, with a lot of women, and that's sometimes the struggle too, is you feel like you have like this loss of control with your body, and then intuitively you're craving certain foods, and then you go and you look at like the nutrient profile of it, and you're like, oh, my body like actually knows what it needs, and that's why I'm craving that particular food. Yeah. You know, versus not.
So last night, my wife was eating sour keys dipped in peanut butter. What does that mean?
Well, she's probably craving fat and some bitterness.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. I mean, when you go, because your liver changes hormones, the hormone likes bitter food. Yeah. But the better thing would be some like arugula with some like olive oil on it. There's some fat and there's some bitterness.
Or some like cranberries or like sour other berries. To get that same sour thing.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. It's like you pregnant ladies have these weird cravings, but if you break it down into what it is that you're really craving, then you can have like a healthier choice than sour keys and peanut butter.
And there's multiple parts to that too, because if you look at it through the Eastern method, we look at taste being effective to certain like organs, like cleansing of the liver being like a bitter taste. Same thing with sour, sweet, that kind of thing. But then there's also the emotional context as well. We always have like an emotional connection to certain food, and so depending on what the emotional connection is to maybe sour keys, like maybe it's like this, you know, Juna like amazing joyful memory of like the first time she had keys back in the day, where it was like, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest thing ever. And so maybe where she was at emotionally was like, oh, emotionally I want to have like this experience of sour keys and then peanut butter, you know.
Totally.
The worst was they weren't even the right sour keys. They were weird.
Yep.
Like no-name sour keys.
Oh yeah. Come on. This is not eliciting this memory.
Yeah, I mean, I go to the grocery store now, and it's like 85% of the stuff I don't even get. Like, I end up coming out with vegetables and fish, and I'm looking around this big giant store full of like different ways to eat flour and wheat and sugar and preservatives and processed crap, and here I am with my vegetables and my fish, and that's it. Yeah. It feels weird. Like I go up and down every aisle, but then I always come out with the same stuff, and because I'm like, I don't want to eat that for whatever reason. I don't want to eat this for whatever reason, and then I'm at home and I don't feel like making anything, and I end up being hungry because I don't have anything to just pop in the microwave or whatever. But I don't know. I think I need a balance, where I need to buy a little bit of crap and still do the healthy thing.
Have some snack foods available.
Yeah. Have some good snack foods available, or have your crock pot going. It's warm, it's ready to go.
Crock pots are badass.
Just eat it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm a big fan of, they have these fun like delivery boxes you can get to your door, and I got one called Earth Box. And I can get all like gluten-free snacks, and they're like just the plethora that I get monthly of amazing like gluten-free random kind of things that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And for me, I'm a snacky person. Like I definitely want to have food, and it's been awesome because it is like this cute little like shoebox that shows up on your door.
The worst though is that there's things that
like healthy things.
There's like sugar-free or gluten-free or whatever, and then it's all the other crap that's in it. But you see gluten-free on the front, and you're like, oh, these are good for me, right? And sometimes they're not.
By what the front says.
I will, and
always look on the ingredients.
Agreed. And to be really honest, Earthbox is really good in terms of like they're organic.
I wasn't trying to attack your snacks
in that way, but no, I totally get what you're saying because it is like greenwashing.
Usually, I mean, grocery stores in general, the second you walk in the door, there's marketing stuff being thrown at you from like the beat of the music playing to the signs to the colors to where they're placed specifically on the shelf.
There's a lot of psychology,
right? Yeah. So you just have to kind of go in and go with your list and decipher. And we always have our go-to meals that are like, okay, we literally have 20 minutes. We can only make this, this, and this. But I mean, also I think it's also good going and buying maybe something that you've never cooked with before, like. Maybe you buy an eggplant, or maybe you buy cabbage, or maybe you buy a weird kiwi or something, and you're just like, I don't know what to do with this. But then you actually have to use it. Yeah. And not just rot in your fridge. It's a waste.
You just use Google, find some recipe with it in it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best recipes that I make are like 5 ingredients or less, like very simple.
Sometimes I get ambitious and I want to do that, but I'm not really a great cook, and I realize you have to do it to become better, but I feel like I've wasted a bunch of money when I make something and then it turns out to be crap, and it's like I spent all that time and money and now I have a big pile of tasteless shit in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's discouraging.
Yeah, it is really frustrating. I think, I don't know, I'm more into the paleo community, and I find that no matter what, if you search for something paleo, you're going to find something with like flavor profile.
Isn't that dinosaurs? You eat dinosaurs?
No. Well, yeah, I guess if I was like a Neanderthal or something. No, it's basically just whole foods.
What are whole foods? For
stuff that you get from the earth. So anything from the earth, from the ground, before major industrialization of prepackaged processed.
Does gluten not come from the ground?
No, it was before legumes, wheat, and corn. So before agriculture and farming and stuff.
Oh, yes.
Although potatoes are, they're now finding some certain weird ancient grains that were like so there's kind of leeway between there. But essentially there are paleo people that eat grains. They just choose better forms of grains and different ways of eating them.
What about corn? Because corn comes from the ground, but that...
It's still with like agriculture and like before whatever they could find in like the Paleolithic time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you cook stuff, so you're not like raw.
You still have, carnivore, fat, and there is dairy, so like raw, unpasteurized dairy, tons of animal proteins, meat, and stuff like that. But like the good quality.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could eat potatoes, bacon, and pineapple, and you could be like, I'm paleo, but you know, you need a balance.
So you're a consciously aware person that eats animals.
Totally.
Nice.
And anything from the earth, grass, like anything.
You don't really usually stumble across that. Someone who's very mindful of what they eat and very spiritual and all that, and a carnivore.
I'm a total carnivore. I make my bone broth.
I eat the bones.
No, seriously, there's some, like, honestly, when I was diagnosed with my autoimmune disease, I totally went into this like paleo community, which I kind of was intuitively already eating that way already, but there is something to say about eating meat from a bone, and I don't know if it's like weird past life stuff happening, but I'm just like, this needs to happen, like just how like a pregnant woman, like maybe she'll like get this weird craving to eat dirt, but it's like, okay, well, you really don't want to eat your dirt, your body's just telling you want minerals.
Yeah, you need minerals or cleansing.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It's very interesting. So you have like an autoimmune disease, or how does that treat you?
Not very well. It's a very bad tug of war in
It
between.
doesn't sound easy.
No, and you're gluten free as well too, right? Yeah. So I have, on paper it looks like I have like a bunch of different diseases, but really it's just my immune system attacking. So Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition, texture thyroid, some adrenal fatigue, lots of food allergies, H. pylori, which is a gut infection, and now I'm getting tested for something called pyroluria, which is clinically low B vitamin and or B6 and zinc, which is very interesting. But it's I don't know. I guess if something happens to you, you just kind of use it to help others. So.
Or yourself, because you're eating. You know, I guess arguably, but you're eating a lot more healthy than the regular person.
Yeah. And
you're doing other things to deal with it, and it's almost making you a better person.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think I've always been kind of the health conscious person with like whole foods, but never gauged towards healing my body as much as this. And I think it's really important to be aware. I think that's why I went undiagnosed for so many years, because I managed it so well with living this lovely, healthy lifestyle. And then a bunch of stress and shit happened, and I was just like, my body just tanked.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, you definitely would probably like Wim Hof, because he's got control over his immune system. He like they inject him with neurotoxins and it doesn't affect him.
That's so
all kinds
crazy.
of stuff. Yeah.
See, I would want to look at his blood at like a cellular level and know like, okay, so what's happening to your cells? Do you have like more, like what, like, you know what I mean? Like there's something crazy happening there.
Yeah, I'm curious around the cell death side of things too, like what's going on. And he's trained other people and continued to do this, like the neurotoxin experiment they did. He trained a bunch of other gentlemen, and they injected them as well, and they weren't affected by it too. So
that's really interesting.
You can get the online course. You can fly there and actually study with them. Like,
Yeah. So that's the thing, when you're healing yourself and you're learning about all these amazing people, it can get so expensive. Like taking courses and learning this, and that's why podcasts are amazing. It's literally led me to the specialists and stuff that I'm working with because of listening to podcasts.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's podcasts are this thing that are just exploding. For me, for years, it was just this icon on my phone that I couldn't delete. And then I was watching the space station feed on Ustream. And one time I went in there and I saw Joe Rogan, and I'm like, what the hell's Joe Rogan doing on Ustream? And I'm like, oh, he's got a podcast. Oh, and then I started listening to his guest podcast, and now I'm really disappointed when I meet someone cool and they don't have a podcast. I'm like, dude, I just want to listen to more of what you got to say. Like, it's such a great free-form expression and a good way to get information really quick.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess since I'm having a baby, and you guys are in that field, what's the cutting edge ideas and thinking on what you should do to have a happy, healthy baby?
There's so much.
What's the easiest first thing I can do? Like, if somebody asks me how they can be healthier, I tell them to start drinking the right amount of water. Like, that's the first thing. That's the first easiest thing to do, is just start drinking the water you're supposed to drink. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, I think we would kind of agree on many things, but what would your main thing be?
I want to say intuition, to be really honest.
Yeah?
Like, get comfortable with your own intuition and, like, trusting it. So it would be, like, experimenting with it a little bit here and there.
My intuition says run.
Yeah?
Should I go with that?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
No,
Sorry.
I should stick around?
Stick around, yeah. So then we talk about
that
fear thing. The things that are, that's good. Identify between the two, like, what is what. That would be the big one, I think, honestly, because I feel like we've been parents and we've been raising children for so many centuries and so many years, and to have the opportunity to really look at, like, what is fear or what is intuition, and what intuitively seems right, because it seems like when you can get to that place of trusting yourself, and your partner as well, because you're going to be co-parenting, you can get into this place of, like, really fully trusting, like, where it's coming from, versus, like, oh, I read this here, or I want this here, or my mom said this, and my aunt said this, and so-and-so said this, you know, like, what's true for you? If you can get back to that kind of connection, then that's going to be, number one, the most comfortable thing for you, most content, and your child's going to feel comfortable with it.
From what I've read, it's a lot of touching and affection and kissing is the best way to stimulate.
Definitely physical contact is fantastic. Absolutely. Skin to skin when the baby's born.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the most, I'm thinking more like nutritionally, like brewing a baby and having a baby, and then afterwards,
brewing a baby.
Brewing a baby. Vaginal birth and skin to skin.
Yeah,
right away. And bone broth.
And bone broth?
Bone broth is my answer to everything. And it's not because I'm like I love it. It's just because literally every single thing that I've been researching, it's like a whole food. And it's, you know, if you can't get a good multivitamin and you can't get this good food because it's expensive or whatever that is, and you just, especially this time of year, it's getting warmer and you want more like warming kind of nurturing foods, that would be great. And even if it's like baby's first food kind of thing.
You can give babies bone broth, like in a bottle.
Yep.
Instead of titty milk.
Well, you would do breast milk. You do milk, and then once you start incorporating solid foods and other nutrients, then you can do that too.
Well, because you can have the bone broth without the bones in it, right?
Yeah, so it's just the broth. So you cook it with the bones, and then you take the bones out and you throw the bones.
Where are you getting all these bones?
Well, my dad's a hunter, so I get them from him. I also have a butcher that I buy them from. called Second to None Meats, which is great.
Yeah.
Not too far from here, actually.
And you can just go buy bones?
Yeah, you just buy a thing of bones. You can go to the health food store.
Yeah, Amaranth has them.
Amaranth, you buy
community.
Yeah, just
go get bones.
They're called like soup bones or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Or if you, let's say you have like chicken wings or bone-in meat, T-bone steak, whatever that is, you just keep your bones.
You just save your bones.
Keep them in the freezer.
You can freeze them?
You put them,
How long are they good in the freezer for?
As long as they're sealed, I would say for
What do you got to do to make the bone broth? You just throw the bones in, let them...
I use a crock pot.
Yeah.
So you put your bones in and you put maybe some salt and pepper, maybe some onion. I don't put veggies in mine. I literally just do the broth. You put a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Just a little bit helps kind of pull the nutrients out of the bones.
Okay.
And then you just pile the water on. And the consistency really is up to you. The best way is to make it jelly. So you'll roast it for like 24 hours.
As if I wasn't weird enough. No.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Start making bone broth.
But honestly, it's like it's so good for
Yeah.
pregnant women and babies.
Pregnant women.
Yep.
So I should start right away.
Yep.
What about pregnant men?
Yep. Them too.
Well, you can have it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you can freeze them in like ice cube trays. So you just have like things and you just pop them into your chili, or you drink it, or you make soup with it, whatever you do. Steam veggies in it.
I was really surprised. I remember the first bone broth that I made. I was vegetarian, so it was my first sort of foray into like animal product. By the way, it was like, well, I'm not comfortable chewing apart like a steak. Like bloody parts were not my thing, and because I was vegetarian for a long time, so backstory with that. And so I was like, okay, bone broth will be like my first thing. I can just like sip it and have like these little things I can add to recipes, and it won't be as like in my face kind of thing. And I remember having like my first like sip of it. Well, the first one I burnt myself because it was like fat layer on the top, so I just spooned in and I totally burnt my mouth. But then when I actually had it like cooled down a little bit and I actually tried drinking it, I was like, oh, this is good. It was really bizarre to me how good it tasted. Honestly, it was like, that was the shocker for me with it. Because number one, being vegetarian, I thought there would be like some sort of intrinsic like, oh, this is disgusting. Yeah. But there was like this recognition of, damn, this is delicious. I want to have this more. And that's what I find. Like even now when I drink bone broth, the same thing. I'm just, every time I drink, I'm like, this is so good. Like, why is this so good?
I know. Everyone
it's bizarre.
needs to get on the bone broth train.
It's weird. So be curious to hear your experience of it.
I can't believe a vegetarian was like, I'm gonna drink bones.
To be honest, it came from like a health thing, kind of similar to Regan. I was having rashes and that sort of thing, and looked into gut health, and it seemed like everything was coming from the gut. So I was like, okay, this might be one of those cases where being vegetarian, I upped my grain intake, and my phytic acid sort of destroyed my gut. So I had something called leaky gut. And so how do you repair that? What do you do? One of the first things they say is like bone broth.
And it's very easy to digest too, because then if you think, if I've never been a vegetarian, but if I was and going to transition to eating animal meat, if I went to go and like chew on a piece of meat, I might be like, ugh.
Yeah, well, and not only that too, like your stomach will start to adapt as a vegetarian. I was vegetarian for like 15 or 16 years, and so one of my concerns, I now eat meat occasionally, very conscious about it and like ceremonial, because there's still like a heart piece for me, but there's the concern that you digest protein in your stomach, so you need stomach acid to break down like your proteins, and so over a period of time your stomach doesn't create as much acid anymore because it no longer needs to, so it starts to sort of evolve in itself. So a lot of times when vegetarians start eating meat or high protein, they have a hard time digesting, they feel nauseous and that kind of thing, and it's literally just because the acid content isn't strong enough. So so that was sort of part of it too. It was like, I know that I can digest it, my body can absorb it and go into it and sort of build things up. Yeah.
As a party kid, I knew I was young, and I kind of felt like maybe I could just get my body to adapt to having an erratic sleep schedule and consuming alcohol all the time. And I just like, my body will just adapt to all these horrible things I'm doing to myself, but it didn't.
No.
Once the adrenaline and the whole like, oh my god, I'm an adult now, like kicks in, it's just like, oh my gosh.
I had a theory when I was younger and I was into partying, it was like 2 hours sleep was kind of like my rule. If I could get 2 hours of sleep, it'd be fine. Anything less than that or more than that, if it was like a crazy night, I could not function. It was like 2 hours exactly, otherwise no go.
Yeah, I was always the responsible partier. I think I'm really glad that I got all my partying done when I was like between 19 and 22. And then now I'm like 28 turning 98, just at home in my PJs being like, I've done that, I'm good to go, like I don't need to do that anymore.
So to switch to spirituality and religion a little bit, you're free from that desire. You're free from that sin, something that's not good for you. And the fact is you just got it out of your system. And I feel like that's the best way to release yourself from desires and attachments, is just to get it out of your system, whether it takes 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, whatever. Mm-hmm. But the people who are religious and try and free themselves from that desire by shutting that off, and shutting that out, you're not actually freeing yourself from that. You're just being like, I want to do that, so I'm going to stay way over here, far away from it, so that I'm not even tempted to do it. But that's not good for you spiritually. You're not releasing yourself.
Oh, this is I understand the idea of religion in its context of creating structure. I understand why there'd be a reasoning for that. But in terms of spirituality and growth as a human being, you need to understand things. And the only way you understand things is through the fire, through experiencing things. Whether that's towing in or fucking blazing right through it is another question, and that's different for everybody. But I totally agree with that. You can't just no, that's bad, it's horrible, and these are the reasons why, versus I'm going to try that or get close to that and understand it. Yeah, you don't know yourself any better for that. You're no more spiritually advanced by not knowing something.
Depriving yourself is not freeing yourself of the desire.
No, not at all.
Well, you need to know why, too, right? That's something that I'm really passionate about, is teaching people, well, why did you like that, or why did you not like that, or what happened, and why would you not do that again? You need to be there to know, oh yeah, I know I don't want to do that because this is what happened, or whatever.
So you're going after the root, root cause.
Yeah. So you can sit back and be like, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? You've already had this experience and stuff like that. So
for me personally, I had a pill addiction, and because it made me happy, and I wasn't a happy person, and so I had to think about what, in my happiest points in my life, what was I doing that made me so happy? And then I looked at today and I'm like, oh, I'm doing none of these things that made me happy. And so I realized that was the feeling that I was trying to get from just taking a pill. And so I started doing a lot of being creative and physical and mental and spiritual work and stuff like that. And now my dealer's a couple of houses down. At any point I can just go get, but I'm completely free of it. I don't want it. Mostly because it's basically robbing happiness from your future self, so that you can be double happy today. And I don't want to do that to my future self. But I feel like I'm free from it completely, and it's because I was in a very bad situation and I just got done with it. I was just done with it. I'm done with it, so I can move on.
Yeah, I mean, just a weight lifted off your shoulders, like a breath of fresh air, knowing that you have this control. And you feel, you don't have to go there.
It doesn't even feel like control. That's how free from it I am. It's I don't feel like I'm not doing it. I just don't want to do it. It's I don't feel like I'm stopping myself from going and dropping a heavy rock on my foot right now outside, right? It's just not something that even enters my mind. I'm free from dropping rocks on my feet. I'm free from that desire.
It's so interesting.
So my question is, how did you get to that point for yourself? How did you get to the point where you're okay, now I want to look at this differently? What was sort of the turning point for you?
A lot of spirituality stuff.
So you're as you had the pill addiction, you were kind of working on spirituality, and
spirituality, creativeness. It was a lot of self-reflection and being why am I not happy today? First, I had to realize that I was taking the pills to be happy, kind of deal, instead of just doing it as fun, recreational, drinking or smoking weed or whatever, right? I had to realize that it was a problem, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I felt really, really, really bad about myself. Every time I would do it, I'd just want to kill myself, Not really, but I felt like I was going to hell. Not really, but that level of shame and guilt and self-judgment. And then once I realized, I started listening to Ram Dass, and then once I realized a bunch of other things about spirituality and the fact that you're supposed to go through these things, and that's the point of this plane, is to suffer and to come out on the other end as a better person. If I relapsed, I enjoyed it, first of all, instead of not enjoying it, and I just was like, that's not who I want to be, that's not who I am, and so I didn't feel bad about it, but I knew it was something that I had to correct. As far as me wanting to correct it, not anybody else telling me I had to.
So there's a recognition from yourself that this isn't serving me and something else needs to shift.
Yeah, and I freed myself. There's I don't have words for it yet, but there's 2 levels of shame or guilt or doing wrong things or whatever, and there's this one level where you just feel like the biggest piece of shit in the world for doing this crappy thing and being an addict and whatever. And then there's this other level that's higher where, you know, you still recognize that it's not productive and it's holding you back from growing and whatever, so you can still feel bad about it without really damning yourself. I don't know what the word is for those 2 levels yet, but I definitely feel like there's 2 levels. And if you can free yourself of that societal shame and religious programming of judgment and whatever, once you free yourself from that, life in general becomes a lot more easy. So I guess it's perspective. You just, with everything, you just got to shift your perspective.
Definitely your perspective, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and your perspective will change too. I mean, I think that some people are so linear and so thinking this way, and no, it has to be this way, and it's like, and I used to be like that too, and you know, just to be able like, just calm the F down and just think outside the box sometimes. Like, it may bring you more creativity. It may bring you to a different place, you know? So, yeah, I think it's important to...
The box is so small. It's so small. And when I get in debates with religious people, I'm not trying to change their thinking. I don't want to convert them. I don't want them to leave their faith or anything like that. But for someone to sit there and tell me what God wants and what God knows, and I'm just like, okay, buddy, your eyes can see 1% of the light spectrum, 1%. And that's one of your senses. And it's the same with all of your senses. And you know what? There's a bunch of senses out there that you don't even have senses for. So don't tell me that you know what God is thinking or wants, because you're just a dumb human. Yeah. And like, how do you argue that? You can't argue that.
Yeah.
So everybody's reality is different. There's tons of realities. 50 billion realities from everyone that's ever been born to now. Like, we all have our own realities, and we're sharing one at the same time. But yeah.
Well, I think from like in like evolutionary point too, is like, as people, there is science showing that we want to have culture and we want to have like-minded individuals, and we do pair up, and even like not like some groups and other groups, because we want our little families. And that's kind of what religion in my mind is like, you have your little knit community, your like-minded people where you're respected and you think the same way, and that is awesome. Like, that's even in like the health community that's why I love being at Prema, because we were all on this cool playing field, like we all got each other, and that I think is amazing. That what I think people need that, but it doesn't have to be so structured, and that if you fall off and you go and decide to be in a different group, that you're going to be like shunned, and
or if you have ideas from outside the group.
Exactly. Or
opposing views are very important.
Yeah, or if you question, you know, why do we think this way? Can we, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
Yesterday we were talking about, because we went to church and then came here and did some stuff, and so how, like, just for crude example, how Christians don't like Muslims and back and forth, but neither of them has actually immersed themselves in that. And the Christian that I was talking to, he has a friend who just joined the Muslim community. He was like, I don't know why, you know, everyone says that I shouldn't like these people, but I'm not going to have an argument where I only know one side and I argue that side. That's the dumbest thing ever. So he went and he immersed himself, and he ends up, the same with this racist guy that immerses himself in the ghetto, you know? Like, you find that people are people, and And these ideologies that keep us separate are just blown out of proportion and not really necessary. Like you need different views. You need people that are doing different things.
Yeah.
If I said with one guy, it was like, if everybody thought the same way as me, I'd think about a different way to think.
Yeah. Well, like, how boring would that be?
Yeah.
Like, how boring would that be? I mean, I think that's also goes to be why people are gifted in certain ways. Like, we need the linear people thinking, and we need the out-of-the-box thinking people. We need the mathematical engineer types, and we need the artist types. Like, if we were all the same thinking, like, if there was, like, a million me's, I would be like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I can't, like, there's a lot going on in this head. I don't know if I can, like, handle more me. So, you know what I mean? Like, you need diversity. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you don't want to talk to someone that just agrees with everything you say.
Oh God, I couldn't imagine.
No, because, yeah, it'd be boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't learn anything. You just have someone reinforce whatever it is. And so that's a big problem with Google and Facebook right now, is because they're trying to personalize your feeds and your searches. So what they do is they base it off of what you've already liked. And so if you're a liberal and you're liking all your liberal friends' stuff and not your conservative friends' stuff, they'll stop showing you know, views that challenge you and that you need.
Yeah, you miss out on that exposure completely.
Yeah, it's a nice marketing aspect for people, like, putting ads up and everything like that. You want to target market. But, I mean, also, that's very... It's kind
too
of
inclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
Way too inclusive.
And it's not even a setting that you can turn on and off.
Yeah, that's why it's important to have random friends, weird friends.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I think I've always loved having friends from all different areas, all different ages, and different interests, because you learn so much. And otherwise, if you are in your little inclusive group, be it religion or otherwise, it's very reinforcing, so it feels safe and secure. And then you don't evolve beyond that unless you have somebody willing to be like, hey, so by the way, I'm Muslim. Did you know this? Oh, actually, that sounds kind of okay. What about this? Oh, really? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should come check it out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Goes back to that comfort thing, though, too, that you were talking about, right? Some people are really happy to be in their comfort zone, and they'll maintain
Of
that.
course, it's amazing.
Right?
It's so nice to be in a comfort zone.
Safe. Wonderful. And maybe that's part of it, too. It's a choice. You want to, like, okay, I want to evolve. I want something else. I want to be out of that comfort zone.
But I
want
think
to
it could
challenge
be too limiting sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know if it's people out of fear or if it's just, again, that goes into personality types. There's introverts and extroverts, and there's some that are, I don't know, like maybe they're comfortable stepping outside that box, but they still have kind of a...
I don't know if it's an introvert-extrovert thing, though, because I consider myself an introvert, and I'm way out of the box. So.
That's true, actually.
Like, if you debate it sort of like the classic, like, I need to restore and be alone for certain periods of time, absolutely. Yeah. And am I willing to try things somebody else has, or do things that are, like, crazy, wild, and weird? Totally. And actually, I would say that my introvert self has probably strengthened that, even, because I'm less fulfilled by people outside of myself. Like, I don't get that charge when I'm in big groups or scenarios. I'm more, self-reflective that way, I guess.
Yeah.
So then I understand the situation.
Yeah, definitely.
I try something new.
Yeah, I can agree with that, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear things from the normal people I hang out with a lot, and they're like, why do you hang out with that weirdo? Like, I've gotten that my whole life.
Me too, yeah.
I'm like, because I am a weirdo.
Yeah.
You just don't see that side of me somehow.
Yeah, but I don't know what's wrong with them.
You
obviously haven't talked to me very long. Talk about the weather.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
How about that stuff?
So the spirituality definitely helped bring me out of my funk a lot, and then just being creative, having something else that kind of gave me a rush and whatever. Like these podcasts, once they start, it's like an acid trip. Like you're on it, and you don't know what's gonna happen, you don't know where it's gonna go, and it's exciting. I love it. I do it all the time because of it.
Yeah.
I guess that's my new drug, podcast.
Nice. Spreading the word.
It's good.
Yeah.
Information. And I end up talking about spirituality and stuff a lot because I feel like that was probably the main thing that helped me, and I wanted to start a podcast to help other people.
Yeah.
And promote community. There's this guy, I talked to him over the weekend. He's got a growler wine bar just down the street, and I went in there a while ago. He was super cool, and I was like, that guy would be a cool guest. So I went in this weekend, and I talked more to him. And he only stocks beers from microbreweries that aren't using this and that and whatever, and they give 5% back to the communities that they're working in and everything. Like, super cool. And that's the kind of person that I want to promote. Like, if you're gonna go buy your booze, you might as well go buy your booze from someone that's using the money to do good and promote good and whatever.
Definitely.
And sense of community, it'd be nice. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in this community, but wherever I go next, I'll do the same thing.
Yeah,
just keep doing it.
Yeah, that place sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah. It's just down by Edworthy Park. Those two big residential towers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you go just past it, it's like on the far side.
Oh,
The
nice.
street. You see a sign that says Growler Bar.
Awesome.
And so I ended up getting a growler because I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. I buy like cans of beer every night and then throw away all these cans. Like, my drinking habits destroying the environment.
A growler's like the big jug, right?
Yeah.
The big glass jug, and you go in and get it refilled.
Yeah.
So I've reduced my environmental impact from my drinking habit.
Nice work.
Yeah.
I recycled my boyfriend's once by accident.
Yeah.
He was like, what?
They're not teeth.
I know. Like, I'm sorry. But it was recycling. Lesson learned. Well, he dumped out all my fresh Kangen water.
Oh no.
I went away for a week and I had these big 4-liter jugs on the counter. He hates when I say this, and I'm like, when you got through like the second or third 4-liter jug and you're glugging it down the sink, you didn't think, I wonder why this water's in this jug and who wants it? Probably Regan. Like, I don't know what, like, I'm just like, come on now.
and the jugs are going to take up the same amount of space whether they're empty or not, right?
Oh my gosh, I know. I went to Prema and filled up all this nice water. It's a Kangen machine and it's so nice, and yeah, and then I came back and it was gone. And right away I was like, you threw those out. And he was like, well, it was cluttering up then. And I was like, oh no.
Same size clutter still.
Yeah.
What kind of water was this?
Well, it's just like really clean purified water from a Kangen machine. That's how you say it, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a filtering system that you hook up to your sink. We had one at the clinic that we worked at.
Yeah, and so it's
Just
different
changes the
pHs.
molecule.
Yeah, and so you can get different pH as well, so more alkaline or more acidic, depending on what you want to use it for if you're drinking, or you can use more acidic to clean things as well, which is really nice.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we've got one of the water filtration systems with the rocks and everything. It makes it all
the Santina
alkaline.
ones.
Yes.
Yeah, those ones are really good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're the good quality, more best kind of affordable ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except for it's plastic. Everything's plastic.
I know. I've been trying. I actually do some demos for that company, so I know about their product really well. And I've been trying to figure out, like, okay, are you going to come up with, like, maybe a stainless steel thing or something that's easy to clean? Because glass would be
It's
not
so
very
heavy.
nice. But stainless steel ships really easily. And then also they have a shower filter.
Yeah.
And I've been getting lots of questions about a bath filter, because when you wash your kids, you're not filling the bathtub up with a shower head, you're filling it up with the tap.
Right from the tap itself.
So maybe one that they can hook on the tap.
Alkaline water is important for baths and showers and stuff?
Well, and the most important thing is it takes out all the chlorine. Yeah. So it remineralizes the water, takes out the chlorine, and then changes the pH to around 9. So
because the skin is the largest organ in the body, right?
Soaking it all up.
Yeah.
And when you have tummy issues and adrenal thyroid issues, chlorine is a bad kind of it's a bad molecule to have in your body. So well, for anybody, but specifically for thyroid issues.
Yeah, all the stuff that we put on our skin's a lot, right? Like the crap in soap, the aluminum in deodorant.
That's why I like essential oils.
Yeah.
I use them for everything.
Really? Because I don't like using deodorant, but I don't like stinking even more.
I use the Toms. Do you use a natural deodorant?
I do, yeah. I just switched over to a spray. I've also made my own deodorant too in the past.
Have you ever used baking soda and coconut oil?
I've used a combo of that with bentonite clay as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baking soda works really well too. It's a little bit harsh on the skin. But I do use the Toms kind. It's a natural one with no aluminum. It's a lemongrass one. It works really well. But if not, I'll just use essential oils, like a body essential oil spray, and it lasts. I mean, oil stays on your skin for a long time.
Depending on what you like the scent of, like I find tea tree is really good for killing off bacteria. So if you got a little bit of a stink going on, you can create a spray, or you can even just put a couple drops on too, which is nice. Yeah.
Thieves oil's really good too. Lemon, lemon's a natural. Coconut oil is also a natural antibacterial, antifungal.
Be careful what you're wearing with coconut oil or baking soda too, because baking soda will leave like mark on you, and coconut oil will be really greasy, so you'll end up getting grease on you.
So that's why I use the non-aluminum deodorant. I started doing a no poo shampoo method.
Oh yeah.
Where you wash your hair with baking soda and apple cider vinegar. And just a way of de-cleansing all the chemicals and everything, and using these essential oils and stuff.
I make my own shampoo, but I make it like oils and coconut milk and and what's that soap? The Dr. Castile's or
whatever. Dr. Bronner's kind of range of soap. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I've been using just I guess the second time I washed my hair, you use a bit of baking soda and some water, and you put it on your hair, and it actually makes your hair really soft. I was doing it way wrong the first time I just heard about it. I was like, baking soda vinegar, sure, you make this solution and pour it on your head. Really? And it started lightening my hair. It tingled, and I was like, ooh, this is nice. It's getting like all the I was like, no, it's the wrong way to breaking. No, totally, it's the wrong way to do it. Yeah. Take a little bit of baking soda and water and wash it through and rinse it off right away, and then you use some more water and like a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and run it through. I still put a little bit of conditioner on my hair because I'm not that much granola. Just like I need a little bit of conditioner in there. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's great. I think taking out the chemicals is amazing.
All these things like, if somebody says that this is all weird, everything that we're talking about, look at how much cancer is in the world. When did cancer start? Like, not that long ago. Probably right after they started putting preservatives and chemicals, and people are smoking all these chemicals in cigarettes, and we're putting all kinds of chemicals on our body every day and eating all these preservatives. Like, it's no fucking wonder that everybody's dying of cancer.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you can die of cancer, or you can be weird.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
It's as easy as that.
If you're weird and end up getting cancer, there are many different treatments to do, like hemp oil and all of that stuff, in conjunction with the medical community.
Absolutely.
Which there's just more options.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, because there are many people that are living with cancer, and they're living a healthier life now than they ever were before, because they've now shifted. Like, cancer was like the paradigm shift that said, you're fucking up in your life right now, you need to do something different. And they start exploring the weird things, alternative things, and now they're like healthier than they've ever been. And they have cancer in their body, but it's in a place where it's like stopped or in remission. It's like it's not doing anything harmful to their body. So
I read a book when I was doing the alkaline thing. It's by Dr. Robert O. Young. And he says that cancer is the cure. And when you hear that, you're like, what are you talking about? So what they did is they took cells and they deprived them of like oxygen and nutrients and shit. And instead of dying, that cell started to mutate, also known as cancer. So all these things that we're taking into our body that's cutting off the supply of things that our cells need, that's what's causing the cancer. And you just gotta go to the root cause. Like, what are you doing? You know, you're putting all these chemicals in you and on you all the time, and that's it. And so when you think about, you know, the micro macro thing, us as humans on a personal level, we struggle with different things and that don't help or are detrimental to our health. And then you've got humanity as a whole, where, you know, maybe this is just humanity's thing that they have to get over the desire to eat crap and put crap on them and all that. And then once they come out on the other end, then the whole species will be better because of it. It's the personal struggle of the human consciousness. Same with global warming. Well, I mean, that's debatable.
That's a bigger conversation.
Yeah. Do you guys watch Suspicious Observers at all?
No.
Okay, I won't get into it. I'll show you guys after. I'll write it down. So you guys believe in past lives? Reincarnation and all that?
I don't know.
That's fine. You can't know.
I actually do. I'm leaning more just within the last 2 years. I've been really into learning more about like astrology charts and past lives and stuff, which I totally think like a lot of like the tug of war that's going on personally in my body is because of past lives. And I've learned a lot with my astrology chart read, and it blew my mind. Like, I'm totally open to all of that. The reincarnation part I haven't even thought about. I'm just like, I don't know. There's a really cool movie that you should watch though called Origins. It's very interesting.
And it talks about that.
It's a movie about, and it's not a documentary, it's a movie about the scientist who he was trying to prove that God was not real and that evolution, we all evolved, evolution, and they were trying to figure out a species in which they could do a sample on to figure out their thesis, and they were looking at the eyes and the origins, and then it kind of takes a turn into past life and stuff like that. So it's reincarnation and past life. It's very interesting. I just watched it randomly. It's on Netflix. Cool. Yeah. I would highly recommend it.
I feel like, I was brought up Christian, so accepting reincarnation was probably the hardest thing that I've had to really do. And the only reason that I have any of the things that I believe now is because I felt them as a kid. And I'm just now putting words to things that I felt as a kid. Like, I believed in the collective consciousness before 15 years before anyone had ever mentioned this word to me. So I feel like, I knew a lot for a kid, and I always felt like I was humoring the adults, almost as though I was someone who was older than them, even though I was younger than them. And all these weird things that I now believe, it roots back to how I felt as a kid. And a friend told me this story. It was really nice. So a family has a little girl, and then they have a new baby boy. And the little girl wants to be alone with the baby boy. And the parents are like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like, maybe she's jealous and going to kill the kid or something, what's going on. So they leave her alone with the baby, but they're hiding just around the corner of the door. And she goes up and she's like, hi. Can you tell me what God looks like? Because I'm starting to forget.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, because if you look at some people, even when they're really old, their mental maturity is very young. And then you get people like prodigies who you just sit them down in front of a musical instrument and all of a sudden they're the greatest thing in the world. Like, how do you explain all that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids that are like Asperger's and a lot of like very like mental frustration and stuff too are brilliant kids and in their own unique ways, and they may look like a little shithead having a temper tantrum, but really they are just so aware of their surroundings and they're so absorbent little sponges that and they're almost more intelligent than the other kids around them, that they're just internally frustrated. And I think a lot of kids like with like learning disabilities and stuff like that, like I know with myself when I was young I was like dyslexic, a little bit of learning disabilities, and I mean it made me who I am now, but you are just so much more aware of everything going on and so frustrated. But you're a kid, so your outlet is to freak out, break something or whatever. You're not an adult being like, okay, I'm just gonna like figure this out.
Get a stress ball.
Right? Go do some yoga.
It's funny because it's not even the kids necessarily with learning disabilities that are brilliant and all the kids make fun of them to try and dumb them down. It's the actual legit smart kids. Like, I'm not a smart person. I don't think I'm smart anyway. And all the kids made fun of me for being smart. And it's like, how do you want to make the whole race stupid? Like, what about all those guys that go to the moon and shit? Do you think that they were just dumb jocks? Like, you fucking idiot. Like, who brought you your cell phone that you love so much? Probably the kid that you picked on and bullied as a kid, right? Like, what's kids' problems?
don't know.
To a degree, it's socialization, right?
I was gonna say,
yeah.
absolutely.
But when does it goes beyond that? It gets malicious, where it's like you can't be weird at all.
It's hard to like.
I don't know if
it's
it's how you bring your kid. I mean, that's getting into
that's
a whole
part of
other
it, too.
aspect of like parenting, but
absolutely.
getting your
What about empathy? Like, this for me segues into empathy. For me, like, I didn't really get bullied, but I wasn't a bully either. Like, I had empathy for children as a very, like, at a young age. I always had empathy. I don't know if that's part of my past life or what I came in with or my parents, but there's more studies even now talking about with, like, social media and that the empathy in children is gone because there is, like, this medium that we're now communicating through.
Yeah.
So you can say something like, you're a horrible person, no. Back in the day, you'd say it to their face, see them cry, and go, oh, I feel bad about that kind of thing, and then make a choice. Either you amp up what you're doing or do something different. And now people can say, you know, something horrible.
Do it from the comfort of their home.
Exactly. They're kind of completely removed from it. So this empathy is becoming like an epidemic that's no longer existing in its like present form that we have at our age.
Yeah.
For me, like, I started freaking out. I've like got little nieces and nephews, and I'm like, okay, how do we work with this if this is a big deal? You know, like, oh, I couldn't even
I don't
imagine.
know if it's more like educating your kid, telling them this happens,
Mhm.
this is real, people do this, and maybe if you're stuck in this situation, this is what you do. I don't know. I think I did some really stupid things when I was young too, but again, having that empathy and being like, oh my God, that's a real person. Like, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
And realizing that also makes you evolve into who you are too. So, but yeah, on like social media, bullying and stuff is just
but the crap. There was no internet around when I was getting picked on, so you can't blame it on the screen culture. But it does sound like it would exasperate this whole situation. I was in church yesterday, and I'm sitting right in front of the projector that's projecting the words for the songs up, and I've been in a lot of Christian blabs recently, and trolls will come in and they'll just say shit just to get people upset, right? And so I started to think, you know, I could literally just pick my foot up and kick this thing and destroy this whole thing, and everyone in here would be pissed off at me.
Yeah.
I could do that, but then I'd have to deal with the real life consequences of doing that. But because people don't have to deal with real life consequences or having to deal with that person afterwards, then they troll all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But that is the end result. What's the root cause?
Oh.
What outlet? So, for example, bullies.
Yeah.
If every school taught karate or jujitsu or whatever, then these people would have an outlet for that primal aggression. And people who take martial arts are far less likely to just pick on someone. You know, that's seen as dishonorable or whatever. So if you did that, there'd be no more bullying, or very little of it. Like, it would make a huge dent in it. And so instead of trying to tell people not to do these things, figure out how they can outlet that energy in a more positive way, or at least just not a negative way. If somebody just loves speeding all the time, take them to a racetrack, you know, get them into racing. Like,
but that doesn't address the core issue, though, the starting point. Because I think of, like, bullies, like children as bullies. What is their exposure to bullying? Chances are they've been bullied, and it's like a way of being that they've been taught and they're mimicking, or an outlet for the rage or anger if they've experienced it. To me, like, I go further back. Like, yes, I understand the structure of, like, karate or, you know, an oriental art that does sort of say, like, here is how you can work through these things. This is what's honorable or not. Here's the structure for that. But that's not the root cause of why they're bullying.
Yeah, I mean, you could put them in and use that outlet, but then if their home base is some sort of horrible structure, then, I mean, there's so many different aspects to it, but I think that they could probably change I think there are some schools making movements and stuff to get people in, like, past people who were bulliers or stuff like that, or even people who have come out and been like, you know what, like, I was able to because my friends accepted me and da-da-da.
Well, they have different constructs in school around feeling emotions, too. Like, one of the children in my life in their school, they're taught about their feelings and like what a feeling looks like, so they recognize it on somebody's face. They recognize it on their own face, and then they have color codes for it, like I'm in the green zone, which means I'm good, or I'm in the blue zone, which means that I'm angry, leave me alone, I need space, kind of thing. So they're teaching emotional intelligence in different ways in school too,
which I think is so important, because that will get back to the aspect of your intuition and learning your body and learning how to listen to it. Yeah.
They should have more speakers in schools. Like, we sit there and we learn from one person and a bunch of textbooks, and really, they, like you said, former bullies or people who've been bullied or whatever. Like, once a week, they should have somebody come in and just talk about life and what life is like, you know, when you grow up. And
Honestly, I can remember back in school and being the funnest times and the most monumental times that made a big impact on me were times when we had like groups of people come in and we did like a hands-on day, or we learned something, or we watched a documentary or something like that, and it was outside of the norm, and it was like real life situations,
like life skills versus just book learning.
Like hands-on. I mean, the Montessori program, I think, is more hands-on.
More art-based, more sort of natural, and I think they're more accepting to people being unique, so there's less of structure for bullying to happen. There's the uniqueness that is embraced at an early age, so then there's
different learning styles, like you know, these, unfortunately, these are all now topics that I have to think about, right? Like, my child, we're not doing any digital profile. There's not going to be any pictures on Facebook and crap like that. If they want to have one when they're old enough to say I want to have one, fine, I don't care, right? Whatever, but I don't want to consent for a kid that doesn't even talk, you know? No digital profiles. And it was weird, the pushback that we've gotten from people who found out. It hasn't even become a thing yet, right? Where they're like, but I want to see pictures, and I'm like, I'll email pictures to you. Right? You know, like, just because social media is there does not mean you have some sort of obligation to post all of your life on there. Like, what did they do before the internet? You had to come over to my house, I got out the photo album, and we looked over things, right?
Exactly.
Like, so, and that's just one way that my kid's going to be weird. You think I'm weird? Me and my wife are both very weird people, and we're about to have a kid. This kid is going to be weird.
Awesome.
We're already thinking of all the ways that we're going to be weird. Just, I'm sure not having a digital profile is going to be like, the other kids will be like, what? Or we don't have cable. And the kids will be like, what? Like, I don't know. I'm going to raise a weird kid, and the fact of the matter is it won't even be as weird as I want it to be, because I would love it to be able to put the kid in some sort of alternative learning thing that doesn't even exist right now. Like, you can show me a textbook of like birds and their different names and the different distinguishing marks and whatever, in one ear and out the other. You take me for a nature hike and you say, hey, that's a whatever, and see how it does this and that. Bang, that's in my head forever. I don't know if that's just my learning style or whatever, but it's all get out there, right? But you don't want to homeschool the kid, because then they don't know how to act around people.
That's not true.
Is it not true?
I think that's often
you think
like
that's
the
a
idea
myth?
around it. I grew up around a lot of homeschoolers, and I think the difference being that whether or not you're willing to be in the community of homeschoolers and you're within that, or you're a no-schooler, this is a concept as well you may want to look into. But there is, like, we like literally had activities every single day where we were with people every single day, and the beauty of it was you can get all your schoolwork done early in the day and then have the whole rest of the day. Or like for myself, I homeschooled for 1 year actually, and it was awesome because I finished all my work. I realized that I could, if I wanted to, have free time. I would just like work my way through a bunch of stuff and then be good to go, kind of thing. So I could like have a job at the same time if I wanted to, or I could do this or do that. And so for the homeschool community that I came from, there was a ton of social activities, and so we had a lot of time around a lot of other people. We also got to be in and around the community learning things too. So if you wanted to learn how to like ferment food, you'd go with a group of people to somebody's grandma's house, and you'd all hands-on learn how to do that kind of thing. So you learn real-world skills. In my experience as homeschool, you're exposed to things a little differently. You're around more weird people, but there was always a big social structure around that too. So when I hear this, it's funny because this is the bias that I hear often from homeschool. I was like, really? Like, what kind of like...
All the homeschoolers I know.
This is crazy. Like, we were all a big community. We'd go camping together and like these big... Like, it was very... Yeah,
you could
it's
make it
very
that way though
interesting.
too. Like if you
Yeah.
had a bunch of people in the homeschooling community, you could do field trips together and you could do that.
Yeah.
I would be afraid that I wouldn't be able to help my kid with their work.
And that's why you outsource, though. That's why it's good to be
I'd
part
be
of
like,
the
I
community.
don't know how to help you with that.
You don't need to. You've
Figure
got Google.
Figure it out on your own.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know it, then you get to learn it with the kid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
The thing that I like about that whole situation is that it kind of the different ways that you can handle things in the real world. So with regular schooling, it's like a regular job. You can go and you can work really hard, but you're not getting out any earlier.
Nope.
But with homeschooling, you can, and so if you were brought up that way, you wouldn't be so inclined to waste your time as much. Where it's like I can do stuff really fast and get things done and be productive, and then go live my life.
I think that's why I became an entrepreneur at such a young age, is because I already had that form for how to do things.
Yeah.
It's like, well, all right, so here's what I have to do. This is like my list.
This is the effort.
How do I get it done? Here's the effort. Now I could, work a regular job and do that, in 40 hours in a week. Or I could look at the efficient ways to do it, the weird things to do it, and get it done in like 3 hours, and then have all this extra space.
How hard would kids work in school if you showed up every day? It's like, you need to do this and you can leave.
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking talk to me. Like,
Totally. And then you get creative with your thinking, too.
Yeah.
It breeds a completely different way. Yeah.
And then, if you had, especially if you had like 2 or 3 kids, I think if you were going to homeschool them, that would be ideal. And then you could all be done at a certain time, and then you could go to the farmer's market, or you can do this hands-on thing, or you can do whatever. Yeah.
learning survival skills would be a big one. Like, I come from Nova Scotia. I come from the woods. And if, like, the zombie apocalypse happened or a CME came and just wiped out all of our electronics, I could survive, but it would not be easy. And it would be very difficult for me to even just try and recall, like, snaring something, like the very basics. But there's a large population that would just be screwed. They don't know how to hunt or snare or tell the difference between poison ivy and another plant, right? I think it's an important skill for people to have, and I barely even have it.
Well, I would think of 2 people. I would think of my dad, who's like a natural hunter-gatherer who like climbs up mountains and like kills goats and brings them back down. And then there's the Survivor Man guy from the TV show.
Les Stroud
would be like the best guy to be with.
Yeah.
He'll like whip up anything.
He should have a course or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he learned a lot. Because he would go to all these... he still does. He goes to these places and he gets the local survivalists to fill him in on how to survive. And so he knows how to survive all over the world.
Yeah.
I was thinking it'd be funny if Les Stroud and the Iceman went to the Arctic.
That would be a reality show right there.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Naked and Afraid?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's dumb, but I don't know who would get into that.
Man Tracker's kind of cool, too.
Yeah, that's true. I've watched a couple episodes. I can't get into it.
No,
just, like, I don't know. Maybe I would rather be in it, like, on the show, but to watch it, I'm like, meh.
I think that's mostly everybody does that. They put themselves in it, and that's the only way to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's like watching someone mow the grass.
Yeah.
Or a horror movie. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
11:40, ladies. What time did we start?
That's a great question.
Well, we were fashionably late.
Very fashionably late.
How long have you guys been in Calgary? We'll just end with community connection.
Awesome. I've been in Calgary for 2 years this time around.
Yeah?
Yep. Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I moved here in 2003, and I've been here since.
That's been a while.
So it's been a while. I still consider BC my home.
Yeah.
And I go back often. But I love it here.
How, because I've heard about it's not the easiest city in Canada to kind of integrate into a community or even find a community. How are you guys finding it?
That's a great question. It's been a little bit challenging to find community here, I find. I came from Victoria, and so it's a pretty easy to find community location. Like everybody's very community orientated and that kind of thing. Whereas here I found it a little more challenging. So through like work and through like random connections, it's slowly building. And yeah, being here for about 2 years, I now feel like I have friends and I have sort of like this community that I can rely on and pull information from, and I feel connected. Now at like the 2-year mark kind of thing. But it was slow integration. I'm generally kind of quirky and friendly, so I make friends fairly quickly, but I found it a little challenging coming to Calgary that way. But now that I'm starting to find people, it's like the difference that I'm finding in Calgary than like Victoria or other places that I've lived is that there's like these little hidden gem communities that it's just a matter of like finding somebody and then you've got your in. So it's a matter of like trying to find those spots versus it being like, oh, I'll just go to the coffee shop, start chatting with somebody and have like a new friend, and then it'll just grow from there naturally kind of thing. Yeah. I'd say people are pretty friendly here in Calgary on the most part, but it's generally more of like a surface friendliness, I find. Like they'll be really friendly and helpful, but then to go any deeper it takes a little bit more. So.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, actually. I mean, I've been here for many years, and I've actually switched communities. I used to be in the sports, fitness industry, competition, stuff like that. And then I ran myself to the ground and just was totally off topic on the community that I should be in, and totally took a different change into more of the Whole Foods community with the healing centers and the Whole Foods, and change the way that I treat and everything like that too. So, but again, you kind of need to like know someone to like have an in, because I've been wanting to meet our local farmers, and I've been wanting to go and do farm tours and go meet them, and you go to the farmers markets, but the farmers market is not a small town. You have to drive, and if it's rush hour, you're stuck for like 45 minutes. And you have to like map it out, so it's not just this like nice little community where you could walk down the street and just like go to this little thing, like you have to find those hidden gems
or create them too. Actually, I was just thinking that because I started a women's group, and that's why I started it. I was like, where are my sisters at? Like, I need my like group of girls.
You started another group too, though, right?
I've started a couple.
Because you invited me to one, and I'm did you invite me to the women's group?
No, you're not allowed to go to the women's one. Which was my latest one. Oh, it's probably my Sunday Fun Day.
Yeah, Sunday Fun Days.
Yeah, so that's kind of like my new thing now, is like I really want to have more community in my life, so I realized that I have to be the one to create that. So I started out by doing women's circles. I did training, so I do once a month. We do a new moon circle, and it's structured around the astrology.
You might as well plug it, because we're at the...
Wild Woman Calgary. Woo, you should come check us out. We're on Meetup, so if anybody's interested in listening and want to join us.
Meetup's a good app.
It's an awesome app. It's an awesome way to connect to people that you don't know, and that have similar interests and similar values. So it's basically for women of all ages, all kinds, all backgrounds. Just come, and it's a sacred space. Leave judgment at the door, basically, and come be held in whatever space. Like, one of the like biggest complaints I had from a friend when I invited her was like, no, I'm in a bad mood, I don't want to come. And I said, then come in your bad mood. Like, that's your authenticity. That's you showing up, like, had a shitty day at work. Cool, come be with us, see how you feel at the end of it. And 9 times out of 10,
cheers them up.
You feel better, or you at least feel comforted in the fact that it's okay to feel shitty once in a while, like, that's human. But then, so any women come, it's fantastic, it's beautiful. We do a little meditation, we do a ritual, and it's different each and every month. And we're now started growing it actually a little bit as well, so we're doing activities beyond just the circle, because we usually leave and we're feeling all like smiley and happy and lovey, and then we're like, what now? Okay, bye, see you later. So we've been doing fun things like going to like comedy shows or going for a glass of wine, or it's different kind of every month. So
it's like, after this I'm going to be all juiced up and be like, what am I doing now?
Totally, right? And I keep perpetuating that feeling. It's great. But then the Sunday Fun Days, so again, the grandpa I talked about earlier, he has these Saturday morning coffees, and he usually invites like about 6 or 7 people over, and he'll think of like some random topic from the news, and he'll bring people in from all different backgrounds, all different ages, and over tea and like...
He needs a podcast.
I would love to podcast it. They are fascinating, because he literally has people that have won, accolades and awards from things that they've done and that kind of thing. So there's just these incredible, diverse conversations that take place. And when I was traveling last, I was thinking, damn, I want to do something like that. I love having these conversations. I love bringing people together. And because I know so many random weird people, that when I bring them together, they're going to blow each other's minds. It'll be amazing. And the added benefit that I want to have more people come to my house, because I always go out and do things. And I like to just like be in my pajamas. Come on in, have a coffee. Let's have a chat. And I think the other part of that for me is like coming from a small town, like the culture for me, and even Victoria to an extent, was like you drop by your friend's house
all the time.
You you shoot the shit, and that's just the way it is. And I miss that. Like now it's like you structure it. You go for coffee. You've got an hour. You try and power talk your way through it, and you never get into those bigger conversations where your mind gets blown. Or if you do, it's like very, oh, by the way, I have to go. Let's like, you know. And then to get to that space, you can't. And so I was really missing out on that. And then I also miss seeing my friends too. Like I was like, what if we just once a month we come together and it's, I haven't seen you for a month, come to my house, let's chill out. And so that's why I started the Sunday Fun Days. Like I just want people to come together and feel comfortable and have fun and have random conversations. And I also experiment with making food. Like I made gluten-free scones for the first time yesterday.
Nice.
And also banana muffins.
And didn't bring any?
I should have brought the banana muffins. They were delicious. The scones were atrocious. They were disgusting. They were horrible. I was so happy that, yeah, I'm going to try and repurpose them for something. But I made them with rice flour, so they were really grainy. Not enough liquid kind of balance. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to have you come on a Sunday and have some conversation and... I
plan. Is it next Sunday or was it last Sunday?
It was this Sunday. Yeah.
So
I was going to go next month. Yeah.
No, just
next
podcasting.
Month I'll make it.
Yeah.
I find the big problem with community in Calgary is the space. There's just so much space in this city. It's ridiculous. So you don't have that just people around you. Your community is spread out over this gigantic, huge area.
Yeah, you don't just bump into people at the coffee shop or at the post office.
Yeah.
I meet people in the grocery store, but mainly I've taken courses and workshops because you're kind of like-minded people. You're in there, you exchange cards. That's great. You meet somebody. And teaching workshops, like teaching nutrition workshops and stuff. You meet amazing people. But yeah, I mean, I am going to, my passion is to start an autoimmune awareness group. So I'm going to think sometime in the spring and get like a walking group, because a lot of people with autoimmune, they may not be able to exercise anymore. They may feel sick. They may be in their sweatpants and feel like a piece of shit that day. So I'm like, okay, well, we can at least either Skype or have like a meeting or walk, you know, do little walking things. So yeah. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, you're using that struggle to help others. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's good.
You guys have anything else you want to plug? Your work or anything?
Well, I'm a massage therapist and holistic nutritionist, and I specialize in pre- and postnatal and infant, but I work pretty much on anybody of all ages. Can people find you on Twitter? They can, so it's Regan Gray, RMT, and I also have Instagram. And then regangrayrmt@gmail.com is my email, and that's how everybody gets a hold of me. Cool. Nice. Very cool. I'm also a massage therapist, and I do prenatal, but I also I like working with chronic issues that haven't responded to conventional massage treatments, and with that I bring in the Eastern approach, so we look at the mind-body-spirit connection. And more often than not, there's emotions in there that... Really? Because I got something that's wrong with me that physiotherapists can't pin and doctors can't pin. Energy. Oh, yeah. Come in. We can look at it, definitely. Mandy's good. I've had a treatment. I've had a couple treatments. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty fun. So that's kind of like my niche. And then curiosity, that's kind of my favorite thing, is sort of helping clients get a little more curious about their body and see what's going on. And then the women's groups, of course, which is really, really fun. We actually do a 6-week series that we get women together, and we do kind of really fun spiritual things and sort of metaphysical things as well, where we teach you to see auras and that kind of thing. And we're going to be running a 6-week series in the spring, I think. So you have to at least be weirdo open to come? You don't necessarily have to be a weirdo yet, but... No, you just got to be open and curious is kind of the thing, and then we kind of share the rest with you. Auras, so you can see auras? You can, yeah. Anybody can. Yeah. It's just how long does it take to train me to see an aura? If you're open to it, we teach people in 2 hours. Really? So, yeah, and that's including a few other layers too. So, yeah. I've been talking to this one gentleman who he sees orbs. Like energy orbs, and they're haunting like friends of his that came over, and then the orbs followed him and whatever, like, because he didn't want me to come. I wanted him for the podcast, and he's like, well, you know, do you have a family? How are you going to protect them? This and that. I'm like, dude, I'm not afraid of your energy orbs. Like, what are they going to do? Like, come into my room in the middle of the night and brighten up the room and wake me up? Like, yeah, it's energy orbs. I'm fine with it. But do you think there's anything to that?
That's a good question.
Do you think aura seeing training would help me when I go over?
It would definitely open you to being able to see something. So you might be able to see the orbs after aura training. That would be really
He
curious,
catches them on
actually.
film. He's actually a
totally.
retired photographer and has figured out how to capture these things on film.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Because I think that's the thing with auras is that we all have them. We all have energy that's coming out of our bodies. And it's just a matter of like retraining ourselves to see them. If you talk to a lot of children, they see it, they think it's normal, and at some point sort of not see it anymore. For me, like the best, like the quick kind of like thing that I could point to that would help would be if you've ever looked at those 3D images, you know how you have to slightly like unfocus your eyes?
Yeah.
Very similar to that.
Yeah.
So if you want to play with that a little bit in the meantime, that could be a fun thing to do. Just sort of looking at people. And it's fun too because you can do it with animals and you can do it with plants too. So
I think we kind of do it subconsciously though, without the visualization part of like if you meet someone, you're like, oh, I don't know about that person. I am getting a
the
really
intuition.
bad.
Yeah.
Or you meet someone and you're just like instantly like buddy, and I don't know if that has anything to do.
People's
with
energies.
Maybe,
I can feel
energies
people's
and stuff
energies.
too, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I do in Calgary.
That's pretty cool.
So the 6-week thing is more kind of around empowerment and using different things to move through. A lot of times we get caught up in like emotional things and we want to just talk about the story, and there's validity to that. There's a part of us that need to like go through things and speak through those things, but then there's other techniques that you can use to really move through it instead. So we share things around that. And then otherwise I can be found on Facebook. I have a website as well, mandimack.com. I'm on Twitter, Hello Mack, and
Hello
Instagram
Mack.
and all that good stuff. Yeah,
Nice.
all that fun social media stuff. So
Yeah, we'll link it all for
We'll link
sure
it
in
all
the
up so people
comments.
are curious, but
Oh,
yeah.
I just wanted to add, that reminded me, I do have a blog that I started, and
Awesome.
it's called eattohealblog.com, and that is me sharing everything I know about my healing journey and just healing resources. And I have an infrared sauna in my house now, so I'm offering 30-minute sauna sessions.
I've done the infrared saunas before.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So
cool.
I have one, and I love it, and it's a really, really good quality one, and offering that as well.
That's awesome. If you guys ever do go to farms or whatever, like, give me a call, because I have a camera too, so I can do remote things and throw it up on my channel.
Cool.
Oh,
I'm going to
awesome.
be doing in the summer for sure. I have one that I'm going to be volunteering actually just by COP here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the community garden that I
Yeah.
have here. Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
I did a farm tour through Community. Did one 2 years ago, and they took us out to a bunch of the organic farms around. We to like the turkey farm, a potato farm, an ancient grain farm as well, where they did like the ancient forms of wheat, and then they gave you samples and everything, and
Cool.
and that too. So if you want to do that, that might be something to look into as well.
I would do that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll look into chopping my penis off so I can come to the ladies' meeting.
Hey! Oh.
And that's how I like to end
And
things.
awkward. I love
On the
it.
Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you guys can come in another time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
We'll be around. We're community now, right?
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Woo!
Woohoo.